Shut up, fool! Stop listening to atheist YouTubers.
Yeah, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. To me, this was flagrant.
Hey, man! This makes sense!
Hey, where'd I go, Myron? What, I have to count to 3, and then I'll poof into existence? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Poof. There we go. It worked. See, I'm just like God. I can poof out and poof in. Theist Thursday. If you're a theist, you can call in. Except for pantheists, I hate you. Don't like pantheists. You guys are not worth anything. I'm joking, kind of, but in a way I'm serious. I mean, pantheism is like the most useless belief system ever. It's like, pick a side already. Either poop or get off the pot. Either become a specific theist. But the same with you deists. I mean, like, kind of get why you believe something about intelligence creating the universe, but no specifics beyond that. Come on, pick a side. Enough already. And same with you agnostics. Here I'm just saying I'm the nicest atheist on YouTube, and I'm picking on the pantheists, the deists, and the agnostics. You don't live your life like there's a God protecting you and helping you and that there's eternal life. So just have the guts to admit you're an atheist already. Either pee or get off the pot. And call in quickly rather than late. First time catching the live feed. Well, good show, Yosarian22. Glad you could catch it live. You're the only reasonable person here, I'm sure. Besides Jamie. If you call in, and all you want to do is ask me why I don't believe in theism, why I'm an atheist, I'm more than happy to explain my reasoning. It would be fun if theists would call in and role play. That would be fun. Role play an atheist. And if you're a theist and you think it's a sin to role play as an atheist, we can talk about that. I've actually had people tell me that it's a sin to role play as an. Am I a little quiet? Looks like I'm a little quiet today. Let me double check things. No, I'm 100%. Why is it? You guys let me know if I'm a little quiet or not. Maybe I'm perfect. I don't know. Agnostic is the most logical and what's the word? See, I hate it. They put these little heart emoji things in the way. Safe position? No. Agnostic is the wuss position. What's so safe about being agnostic? That people will love you? Do you need love from other people? You're just scared to let people know that you're an atheist or a theist? Yeah. Hey, thank you, Mrs. Apostate. I enjoyed it as well. Might do some more in early February at Arizona State University. I want to really run that experiment where people truly, truly believe I'm a lefty and then ask questions and then ask the exact same questions when people think I'm a righty and see. I mean, that would make a great side-by-side. How if people view you as the enemy, they will just, their answers change. But this is not about politics. It's about religion today, which is still political. Not scared of Christian nationalism, by the way, in case anybody was asking. I'm not scared of it at all. I think it's a boogeyman. I'm more scared of, well, I shouldn't say that because, never mind. Forget I didn't say anything. Forget I said anything. There's very few theists left who I think want to talk to atheists anymore. And the ones that do it, they just want to, like, for example, Matt Dillahunty on the line. I think a lot of them just call in because now their goal is just to trigger him. I really do think that the conversation has got not to exploring arguments. It's like sheer entertainment to seeing Dillahunty go off. Are you scared of jihad? Yeah, a little bit. But not living in the United States, I'm not. The state of Arizona could cripple the whole Middle East on its own. We don't need the other states in the Union. Doesn't agnosticism mean that you cannot be sure either way? Well, it can mean that, but it's so subjective and wishy-washy. Like, what do you mean by sure? If you mean 100% certain, that if you can't be 100% certain, then that means you're agnostic. No. I don't need to be 100% certain that when I drop this pen, it's going to fall down towards the earth. I don't need to be 100% certain that will happen. And I can still say, I know that when I drop this pen, it's going to fall down. I know it. In the same way I can say, I know there's no God. Am I 100% certain? No. Could I be wrong? Yes. Can I still say, I know there's no God? Yes. I think the pen analogy is so clear that I've just converted some agnostics to atheism, just like that. You can still make knowledge claims without being 100% certain. See, the precepts, they don't understand that. They think you either know it or you don't. It's either 100% or it's zero. I mean, it's the switch is either on or off. But even switches, you can put in the middle and then short circuit stuff. Tom34B, your question is malformed. You need to prove I'm not the nicest. See, the default position is I am the nicest until proven otherwise. Just like the default position is that Jesus rose from the dead until you prove otherwise. You need to learn how to write sentences, JR. I thought you're British. I thought you were well educated. If only we could person empiricism on theism. What? I think you typed the wrong word. Maybe you're using a mobile device. I used to use laptops for everything. And then a friend of mine said, and I kept buying new ones every 2 years because it would burn out. He said, just buy a good desktop. Best advice ever. So you people out there using mobile devices and laptops, just if you're at home or at work, desktop is the way to go. Big, heavy, clunky Apple IIe's. That's what you need. And if you know what an Apple IIe is, you're over 50. Did you catch Pelagia's preview of Habermas's Magnus Opus? No, I didn't. I find it really difficult to care. Colin Ross.
What's up, Doug?
Let's see if this works. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to mute your video here in the background.
Yeah, it's always a good idea. You know what I did today?
Say what?
You know what I did today? No, of course. How would you know?
How would I? I mean,
I called my my son's university that he's wanting to go to, and I basically said, either you pay his full tuition or he's not coming. They got it down to half. I said it has to be 100%. We'll see what happens now.
I went to college for nothing, man.
Me too.
College Charleston's like $50 because I had like in-state tuition. Yeah.
Well, now
So
it's
I got away with a lot, I guess. I've
even
only had-
in-state tuition's thousands. It's like 5,000 in most states, I would say, per semester for in-state. Maybe it's
Yeah, it's like 7,000-8,000, and then where they really get you is like the room and board. You got to pay, another $8,000-9,000 for
yeah. The way I can,
meal plans.
like, I've told my son that I will, and daughter, that I will never pay for their college tuition, but I may help them with their food. But yeah, if a college or a university really, really wants a student, they will pay for that student's tuition. That's case closed. And if they don't pay 100%, that means they really, really don't want them. Right? Right?
I think there's going to be a total reformation. And I mean, yeah, like with colleges, they've gotten so expensive. And the idea, yeah, everybody go to college. You should maybe go to like 22, maybe 23 instead of right at 18. And it might be a little bit more beneficial. But
You're breaking up, Colin. Try refreshing your browser or paying your internet bill. I'll mute you.
Reaching out to
I'll mute you for now because we're only getting maybe 20% what you're saying. So refresh. There you go. All right, try
better?
that. Yeah, we'll see how long it lasts. Are you theist?
Oh, no. I grew up in the Southern Baptist Church in South Carolina. Always a good time. They're kind of crumbling right now. It's pretty funny. I like watching the old churches fall apart. Like the Episcopalian church is my mom's side. And it is like the most woke Anglican church. My Hitchens probably had the best quote, following in the family values of King Henry VIII. And the Anglican church across the world, England, Canada, United States, Australia is just collapsing. It's kind of interesting to watch what's going to happen to it because it's got billions of dollars in trust funds and huge amounts of property.
Yeah, what do you do with all that property?
I've been thinking about becoming an Episcopalian priest. There's only like 20,000 of them left. And it's kind of going into the Scientology cult, when no one else is in it. But then, somebody's going to control all that Mormon money, right?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea for me to become some type of pastor. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'd be really good at it.
You probably would. I mean, the Episcopalian, all you got to do is make old rich white boomers feel better about their own selves, mostly.
Yeah.
And it's very, very woke. I think I'd probably get outed there too quickly. I don't know. I got an argument with one of them about like, okay, I'm against circumcision and giving trans surgeries to children, right? Like, let's just make it a blanket statement of no,
No knives on children.
Yeah, pretty simple, and that can piss them off too. So you never know.
Yeah. But we should leave this channel open for theists, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Sorry,
Do you watch Capturing Christianity's newest Bible is True videos?
No, but maybe we can do that while we wait for theists and have a good chuckle.
Yeah, it's mostly about this is how they said the words from this. You got this scholar, they all write a book. I don't think reads Greek. So he's somehow going to tell me about all the things we missed in the New Testament.
Oh, no, okay. No, then I don't want to watch that. To me, that's...
It's not very exciting.
But maybe we could help him bridge his $3,000 per month deficit. I love how he uses the word deficit like he's a real business.
He calls himself a ministry, right? At least all the other YouTubers are like, hey, just give me money for myself. He's like, oh, no, this is a ministry.
It's like saying, I want to be
for.
paid $1 million a year, and I'm only making $900,000 a year. I got a $100,000 deficit. I mean, that's what.
I wish I could do that in my business.
Yeah, that's what's happening, and I wonder how many stupid people realize that when he uses the word deficit, it doesn't really mean what they think it means. But anyhow, I'll let you.
His Patreon, and he's got like. All right, sorry.
Yeah, I'll let you go. His Patreon, he's probably, I don't know what he makes. I don't care. Chivri, thank you so much for the euros. I miss getting into mental trouble from Doug. Glad to see you're back. Hallo aus Deutschland. Grazie. That wrong language, right? Merci. What did you get? You missed getting into mental trouble. Like, you like it, Shivery, when I cause you mental anguish? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that I give you ideas that when you take those ideas out into the public, it gets you in trouble? Superior Odd is still blocked. Really? Okay, let's leave him blocked then, forever. I don't care. He just wants attention anyhow. I think he's mad at me because I called him severely autistic or something. I am well. Welcome, Nottingham. Critical Mass, good to see you too. Happy New Year to you, Chen. We've accomplished our goal in 2023 in terms of there's no theists left. And the ones that do call in are flag-waving phonies. So really, this live stream right now is a victory lap of sorts. Every second that goes by and no theist calls in is proof that we've done our job. We've done it well. Yeah, break the news to Superior Odd that his life is over. He no longer has my love. The only English person I understand, PineCreek, you are unique. Well, thank you. I'm funny and unique. That's what my mom said too. Are you my mother? Mama? Any resolutions? Dig? Oh yeah, I'm going to lose a few pounds. I'm already on my way. I put on too much holiday. I asked you guys last year to let me know if as soon as you see me get a little overweight, you fat shame me. I think fat shaming's good. But I'm on the treadmill an hour a day, burning 700 calories a day on the treadmill, and then I take the dog for a half an hour walk. It's getting cold outside in Tucson, Arizona, where I'm from. And yeah, I'm not used to walking in the cold. I should get my wife to call in. Oh boy, I'd be sleeping in the doghouse tonight for sure. No, yeah, get your wife to call in. We need more women to call in too. I welcome pre-suppers to call in. I love pre-suppers. And I'm not joking when I say that. I love talking to pre-suppers. They, I think, hate to hear an atheist say that. You know what? Maybe I should go on Discord. Find some people. I am, hey Zach, yeah, I was looking thick, but I am strong still. I mean, I do find the heavier I get, the stronger I get. Because I still like work out, and all the extra calories it goes into fat, but also does go into muscle. Let's see, how do I get onto Discord? Yeah, it's actually raining here. Or it's kind of storming a little bit here in Tucson right now. Discord. I remember I lost my password, but I got it back after finally talking to the help people. The Highways and Byways Discord? I've never heard of that. If someone has a Discord link to send me, you can email. You could try posting it here, but I'm not sure. Jamie, you could probably post it because you're a mod. But if you have a Discord link with an invite, send it to that email, because it probably won't show up here. And by the way, you can still call in. Okay, I'm in Discord as me, as PineCreek. I don't even know where to go. Politics, okay, politics and religion. Debate communities. Oh man, there's like 30 people there, but I don't know if this is actual religious stuff. Doesn't say. Oh, here we go. Faith Talks, 15 people.
Okay, this is at ground level and it's not. It'll be a massive cliff, but you can't see it.
Yeah, it's I have a friend who does street tree management, and he hates invasive species. He thinks that there should be like he's on like the more extreme side, but he basically believes that if you introduce an invasive species,
I don't know, some fucking crazy thing. But if you have somebody that's super rich and famous, but like they're being told that they're having child sex parties, or they're having a huge pedo ring or whatever, you know, with like Michael Jackson level, like what people were claiming about him. I think they'd put more like energy into that rather than the cabin guy, depending on the situation.
Well, I mean, we have self-admittedly from Michael Jackson that he spent the night in the same bed as children.
Okay, get out of here.
Okay. There's no way that the FBI had a fucking video surveillance
How do you get rid of this?
on the fucking bed he was sleeping in. So this thoroughness of the investigation and the FBI's claim that they found no evidence does not actually speak to his innocence. It just speaks to the...
Okay. You have to hit the little telephone button. I don't like it. Don't show me this again. The Theist Experience. I need an actual link. Going to get demonetized. Why? So if I do a search on the Theist Experience, like once you're on Discord, can you search other, what do you call it, channels? There's a search button on the top right, but I think that searches within a certain channel, right? Add a server, explore discoverable servers, that. Explore communities, the Theist Experience. Nothing there. Try Clubhouse Atheists. But they're atheists. No, there's not a PineCreek Discord server. Try. Let's go back to politics and religion. There has to be something there. Panhandlers? Christian chat. Okay, but you have to be a Christian to get in there? I'm in the Christian chat. I'm muted right now. So is everybody else. Hello? It's me. It's me you're looking for. What's the words to anybody there? No. Disconnect. That was fun. Someone did make a PineCreek one last year, but it was by... Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's an unofficial PineCreek channel, right? Try Christ-centered Christian room. In what channel? Texas Liberal? In the political channel? Think they kicked you from the Christian chat channel. No, I left out of my own free will. But I went into the Faith Talks one and they were talking about Michael Jackson's thing. There's a Fools for Christ. I just went in there. Hello? Nobody there. There's a Trans Women Aren't Women one. The Theist Experience is a room in the politics and religious server. Thank you, Brandon. That's being specific. The Theist Experience room. Catholic room's empty. Round table, there's people. Islam's empty. The Theist Experience is empty. Yeah, I found it, but it's empty. But I can go in there and wait for theists to come find me, I guess. PineCreek, do you have free will? Libertarian free will? I don't believe so. But it doesn't matter. Doug, do you have 1,000 followers on TikTok? Yeah, I think I do. How many followers do I have on TikTok? I have 1,951. I haven't posted anything on TikTok in a long time. Oh, I got 194,000 views on Christian Gives Atheist a Nice Laugh. I even forget.
Let's talk about that then. You know Jesus Christ rose from the dead because of the Holy Spirit in you, right?
Yes.
Why do you believe the Holy Spirit is in you?
Because
or that a Holy Spirit even exists?
Well, because it says so in the Bible, which is God's word.
Because it says, let me write that.
Yeah.
Let me write this down.
Let me write that down.
It says so in the Bible.
It's circular reasoning, by the way. That's why. And it's circular reasoning.
Would you let other religions use circular reasoning to say that what they believe is true? Would you allow that for them?
No, because mine is true.
There we go.
No, it's true. But here's the thing. Okay, so you laugh.
Someone clipped the pre-recorded Doug, or they recorded Doug and the live Doug laugh exactly the same. Isn't that weird?
That.
Yeah. No, because mine is true. Okay. But how do you know it's true? Yeah, nobody's at the Theist Experience. I waited there. No, you can't go live on TikTok desktop. I tried that. There is ways, but it's just so terrible. TikTok is not the best platform to go live on. Yeah, the Theist Experience room is completely empty right now. Where else can I go? I still have Digital Gnosis here. They don't have any. But they're all atheists. Street Epistemology, I still have that. Huh. It looks pretty empty there. I have T-Jump's channel. There's some people in the lounge there.
So this
I took
Alex
a lot of speak.
Alex is troublemaker.
Yeah, he's kind of a troublemaker. Yeah, I think he's been bitter lately. When I've been
Nobody's around. Does Jay Dyer have a channel? Good question. But that's just talk about transcendental argument for God, right? Boy, the rain's really coming down right now. I can hear it. I guess we could mock cam number 2Z. Videos. Oh, did he have Robert Price on? Looks like it. New strong evidence that backs up the Bible. Do you think some apologists don't believe but are in too deep? Yeah, I'm sure there's at least one. Okay, finally we've got someone calling in here. No, you know what, Eats Eating? I'm tired of you. Eats Eating's calling in. He's that Muslim guy who just wants to talk about Israel and Palestine. And he tends to talk too much for my liking. Most people talk too much for my liking. Yeah, I'm going to check my email. If you guys have links to Discord channels, let me know. I already posted my email address. IP did a response to Camille on gospel authorship with Testify. Oh, really? That might be interesting because I like Camille. The thing is, like, it's kind of interesting in an academic way. But even like the gospel authorship is becoming so boring. Like, even if we knew exactly who wrote each book in the Bible, when they wrote it, where they wrote it, you're still going to believe my ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon if that book says it? No, you're not. In the same way, you're not going to believe a man rose from the dead. That's really all you have to say at that point. You don't believe that Muhammad actually got the words from Allah through Gabriel in a cave. So why do you believe the Quran? Why do you believe a man rose from the dead? I don't see that video with Inspiring Philosophy on Testify's channel. It's not alive. I actually feel sorry for channels like Testify. I feel sorry for these small apologetic channels. I'm being serious. Like, they actually are under this illusion that that they're doing good and that they're going to make some money to help. Like, and a lot of these guys have families. Like, if you're not doing this for the enjoyment, I don't see any good reason to do this. Like if people like Testify think that he's actually going to bring people into the kingdom. Okay, we got a new person, I think. John, and you spelled your name right with an H. I hear you, I think. Oh, it's on IP's channel. Okay, I'll check it later. And John's gone. Just like that. Maybe I'll call back. Inspiring philosophy. Videos. Live. Yeah, 3 hours, 12 minutes. Ugh. No, thank you. Stop to feel sorry for some, Doug. Yeah, thank you, Morty, for bringing me back to reality. I shouldn't feel sorry for them. But like, they're generally nice guys, I think. It's just they honestly believe that by telling people, oh, we do know who wrote the Gospels. No, there's no contradictions in the Bible. They honestly believe that that's going to help them. You're still left with this big problem of believing huge claims with textual evidence. That's your main problem. Maybe a Christian or Muslim can call in and tell me why that isn't a huge problem. Why am I wrong that that's not a problem? It is a problem. Theists, you got to get out of your mind that these books are special, or that they're so special that means they can say the most craziest things and therefore it's true. No. Let's say I rattled off 1,000 very reasonable things. The sky tends to be blue. Things tend to fall towards the ground when you throw them up, and they come back down. The earth is a sphere. I could go on and on and on like this, and then say, and my great-great-great-grandpa flew across the Grand Canyon unaided. You can believe the 1,000 normal things, but there you go. Whoa, wait a minute. What'd you say? Well, Doug, you just have presuppositions against miracles. Yeah, I do. But I'll change my mind in a heartbeat if you can demonstrate it to me. Well, I should say, when I say presuppositions against miracles, all I'm saying is it's very improbable. Most theists would agree. So in order to overcome that improbability, you need a lot of good, strong evidence. Not just because someone said so. John, you can call back if you want. Yeah, my great trans ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon naked. Very embarrassing. Must be true. Like when I did those in real life videos in Phoenix, it just became so painfully obvious to me that so many of those theists, mostly Christians, had no clue. They haven't even begun to question their beliefs. Once start saying things like 500 witnesses and why would people die for a lie, it tells me you haven't even begun. Like if you're a Christian, and you've done your research, you should say something like, well, I believe Jesus rose from the dead because there's prophecies, there's eyewitness accounts, there's martyrdom, but an atheist could say, well, we really don't know anything about these 500 witnesses. These prophecies are not that good, and some of them could have been penned in later. And with the martyrdom, we really don't know if they could have recanted and lived. So I do get the atheist point of view that this is kind of weak. That's what a smart Christian would say. Are you smart? Are you a Christian who says that? But then you're left with saying something like, well, I just believe it based on faith and really don't know either way. Well, but then an atheist can say, our default position is, should be, ought to be, it didn't happen unless we have great evidence to say it did. We don't have that great evidence. Well, I think we do have that great evidence, even though each piece of it can be completely doubted. But when you get enough of these completely doubtable pieces together, then we get a nice big pot of certainty or confidence, high confidence. I just obliterated basically 99% of all apologetics, and how long did that take me? And then, like, you got these apologists doing the circuit, going around from church to church in the U.S., teaching this form of apologetics. And it is so incredibly easy for a guy like me. Like, it would be over in a matter of minutes. Just asking what's more likely question. Like at some point, the apologists just have to admit this. You're doing what you're doing to increase the confidence in people who already believe. That's it. If you thought you had free will, would your thoughts about atheism change? Maybe. But I don't know. I don't even understand free will, to be honest. Because I don't believe something can come from nothing. And free will almost implies that there's this... Well, unless you're talking about... Yeah, I believe there's randomness. But what does it really mean to make a free... libertarian free choice with no preconditions that were sufficient to cause the choice? Where did that choice actually come from then? I guess the answer is God, right? All you have to do is click on the link.
Christian historians and biographers also explicitly state access to eyewitness testimony when they had it. This practice was so common that we have even examples of fictional eyewitnesses or even fictional historians who function as eyewitnesses. There are some known counterexamples, but those exist for reasons that are not applicable to the Gospels. Julius.
All right, let's stop there. So he says that
I just picked a random spot, 32 minutes in.
Doesn't have access to eyewitness. Matthew and Mark don't claim to have access to eyewitnesses. Real quick, and then I'm going to go to Eric on this.
Neither does Luke. Just said Matthew, Mark doesn't claim to have access to eyewitness. Neither does Luke make that claim. Read it carefully in the first chapter. Hand it down to him. Like very simple stuff like this. If it's fun, actually. This is what gives me a bit of a dopamine rush, is when the Christian realizes, oh, wait a minute. In my head, I've just always assumed that Luke was interviewing eyewitnesses, when actually it never really says that. Now, a smart Christian, smart apologist would say, Doug is right here. Doesn't say he interviewed eyewitnesses. Doesn't even come out and say he had access to interview eyewitnesses, which kind of implies that he could have interviewed them. Yeah, you like this color. Like, this is sort of a brownish gold color. Got it for Christmas from one of my kids. Camille's very knowledgeable, but his accent, I think, it's going to be really hard for a lot of people to follow him. And I think if he could speak in his native tongue, he'd be even more effective if we all understood his native tongue. But like all four of these guys here, where are they? Inspiring Philosophy, Testify, Exploring Reality, and I think this guy has his own YouTube channel too, but Stephen Boyce. Only one of these four has so far made a living from what he's doing. And I'm not so sure how much Michael makes, but I bet you he makes good coin. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes up to $100,000 a year in YouTube ad revenue and Patreon support by now. But these guys, no, there's no way. They have other jobs to support themselves. They have to. And what are they really, really accomplishing? Besides just increasing the confidence of those who already believe. Sure, they might get the odd email or comment saying, I was an atheist and now I've become a Christian. If these guys are smart, they should question if that's actually happening. And for the record, I don't even care if I'm deconverting people. I sometimes brag about it, but it's in jest. Stay a Christian if you want. I don't care. But these guys can't say that. Stay an atheist. I don't care. No. There's too much at stake. What are you doing here? And what's with the beard?
So, I've got a couple questions for you, but the reason I did come in is, so did you see Cameron's posting he needs more money? Like just today, when I popped open the YouTube for the first time today, this afternoon, one of the first things was Capturing Christianity. Apparently the donations aren't enough to support the ministry. And you were talking about how much money you think Michael Jones makes. How much money do you think Cameron makes?
What he actually brings in, if I was to guess, based on his wife's wardrobe. Well, let's take a quick peek at Social Blade, shall we? Social Blade has him at $36,000 a year, and his Patreon, a good rule of thumb, is about the same amount. So yeah, I'd say $80,000 a year.
Yeah, he's saying it's not $3,000 a month, I guess, is what he needs to make or something. I think the post.
Well, he said $3,000 a month deficit, which means that he probably wants to make $100,000 a year or 120, something like that. And he's he's probably making maybe $70,000 a year, and he wants another $36,000 a year. So he calls that a deficit.
If he's only making 70, why? Because I think if he's under that tax bracket, right? Like, so he's not giving a ton of it away. Probably the ministry he's allowed. So that's not a bad living, in my opinion. But if he's given any of that to actual like charities or ministry work, then he's probably making shit for having 2 kids and a wife that dresses like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of sad that he can't be like you and have the nice cabin and motorcycles and.
Dude, have you seen? Look at the roof.
I know.
It's old. Anyway,
you did this on purpose because you called in from this location now, one of your many locations across the country.
That's right.
Because you wanted to look poor.
So look, I know it's Theist Thursday, but I've got a thing that's been bothering me for a while because you're a numbers guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems most of the numbers that we're doing better economically than we've done in a long time.
Oh, are you here to say that Biden's doing a good job?
No, I'm not, because I don't think all of it's attributed to just one person, right? My mother said once, well, Obama could change the gas prices if he wanted to. And I don't think it works like that. I don't think one person's responsible for the economy doing better or worse. But I do think that when you say things like, who's that guy you had on the other day? And I just thought like you were talking about Trump being better on the border, Trump being better on this. And I just don't think that's the case, because I think we're doing okay at the moment. And
are you coming on here to purposely cause my followers, my viewership to plummet?
No, look, you're like, you've got nobody else like knocking down the door. I think the Christian Doug channel is done. You might as well just go full. What was that conservative MAGA conference you were at talking to those people?
That was called America Fest. You should go to one of those.
Yeah, I should. Oh man, I'd be hung on a cross outside.
No, you wouldn't.
But just in the sense, I hear this consistently from a lot of people that I know and a lot of family members, that they want Trump back because, right, like inflation's through the roof, groceries cost this, he did a better job at the border. And it seems to me that the numbers aren't terrible, and they're up a little bit from when he was around. So as a numbers guy,
what's up a little bit?
Your opinion. The numbers, look, inflation's not bad. Like the jobs are better. Like all the numbers are better.
Inflation's not bad.
Well, I didn't say it was non-existent, but it's not bad, correct? It's not as bad as it was.
Okay, imagine a situation where inflation is like 8 to 10%, and then the next year goes down to 0. And then you say, in the time frame that it's at 0, see, inflation's non-existent. It's still bad because all that inflation from the past has caused asset prices to go up. So the rate of increase has gone down, but what people are paying is still sky high compared to their income. That's not good.
Do you think that if Trump gets reelected, that country is magically going to be better? Do you think that the numbers are all going to improve?
No, not magically. With hard work, maybe.
Do you think he'll be able to get any work done?
Yeah, I think the first thing, one of the first things he'll do is he'll hopefully be stronger on the border crisis. You know, they're shutting down schools in New York now because they're filled with illegal immigrants. Did you know that in New York?
I don't really want to get into the particulars. I just don't think he did anything the 4 years he was in to do with the border. I really don't think he has any intention of doing anything when he gets back in, except going after everybody that went after him. I just think
they should be terrified of him. The people who went after him, if he wins, they should be really scared.
I don't really think he can cause as much trouble as he seems to think he can, or his followers think he can. Thinks he can.
Anyhow, I think a lot of it, the economy is perceptions, right? So if I'm trying to find a recent poll, but August of last year, at least half the country, no, more than half, thought the economy wasn't doing well. But I'm trying to find recent polling. November, Los Angeles Times, hippie paper. Only 16% of adults said the economy was somewhat good.
Yeah, but regardless of what people say, I mean, the jobs are increasing, if I'm not mistaken.
Perception is more powerful than reality. That's why religion exists.
What about the? All right, that's fair. What about the? Isn't the stock market doing pretty well?
Yeah, but again, that's inflation. Stock market can be a barometer for inflation. Inflation is the increase in price of asset prices.
So how do you think? So how does Trump bring inflation down and keep everything good?
Well, he won't. I actually don't think he will be that successful in doing that.
What do you think he'll be successful in if he does get into office? Apart from
actually, I take that back. There's one thing that he can do to actually really help inflation come down, and that is to drill oil like crazy, as much as the U.S. has. Because a lot of it, almost everything is tied to energy prices, and so if you can bring energy prices down, you can actually cause deflation.
I don't know much about that, but I doubt that there's much incentive to do it. Otherwise, they'd already be doing it, right? Like a lot of these things that they always.
Well, no, hang on. What do you mean? There's not incentive to do it. Otherwise, no. Biden wants to get rid of the fossil fuel industry. You didn't know that?
No, I don't think anybody's going to get. Excuse me.
His long-term goal is no fossil fuels.
Well, I think the long-term goal. I don't know any. Look, I didn't come to argue for Biden, but I think. The long term.
I didn't come to argue for Biden, but aren't things better today? I mean, come on, Sean.
Right,
don't be disingenuous.
Okay. I've already said that I don't think it's all due to Biden, right? Like but anyway, all that being said, do you not think that switching to something in the future, whether it be 100 years, 200 years, I think some people think it's going to happen sooner. I mean, when you've got Ford Motor Company making statements like by 35, I don't think that's going to happen regardless. But by 35, they want to be all electric. I think people are looking for other sources than fossil fuels because they're worried we're going to run out or they won't be as accessible. I don't think anybody wants to get rid of them.
No, I think Biden wants to get rid of fossil fuels completely.
Yeah, I just feel like that's a political talking point, to be honest with you.
You don't think he means it?
No, of course not. I don't think they mean half the shit they say, because otherwise we'd live in a much different world, right? Like if they truly cared about
Biden a liar,
I think they all lied. I think we have talked about it before. I mean, I don't think if you're still under the misconception that our government cares about us, I think that's where you really need to start and rethink. Like if people think that look at all the amount of people that think Trump's on their side, right? That think Trump cares about them. Trump doesn't give a shit about anything but himself, money, and power.
I would prefer to vote for a president who doesn't care about me. That's what I like in a president.
Well, I don't think any of them truly care about you.
See, I look down upon people who want to vote a president who will coddle them and love them and care about them.
Right, but look, they all run on we care about the American people, but I don't think they do, right? Otherwise the world would look much different. The same way that Christians say they're all about Jesus, but when they comes to like political or their daily lives, they're not about what's the thing? I follow a couple anyway, like Jesus obviously is a socialist. He's not some like this idea that Jesus would come with a machine gun and a conservative platform is just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, I agree with that. Jesus was a socialist. He right. A free gift of salvation. I mean, who gets things for free? Only the socialists want that, right? So
would Jesus want to build a wall on the border? No, but everybody that's fundamentally like
Jesus only builds walls between heaven and hell. That's right. Where the real wall is.
So to think that like that, I anyway, that's all I was really wondering is because when I listen to you talk politics, I don't really think Trump has any vested interest in the U.S. particularly, in my opinion.
He doesn't.
But
he owns property in the U.S. like more than 99% of all Americans. So you don't think he has a vested interest?
No, as far as like the American people. So pardon me, like maybe I don't know how to phrase that, but I don't think he has any interest in the American people. I don't think he gives two fucks about anybody other than like his rallies where he can.
And I like that about him.
Him and Haw and just.
I like that about him.
What do you mean? You like the fact that he doesn't care about the American people?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's not the federal government's responsibility to coddle and take care of all the needs of the American citizen. Now,
So sure.
now, if you say a dogmatic 100% care, he has to care enough to keep us safe from foreign enemies and domestic enemies. But in terms of federal programs for taking care of my kids, school lunch programs, and free child health care, that's not, in my opinion, the government's responsibility. So I actually like a president of the United States to look a mother in the eye and say, that's not my problem, that's your problem.
But that's more a question of where our taxes go. Like what?
Exactly. That's why some people lean Republican, why some people
where
lean
do you
Democrat.
Our taxes should go?
Mostly in the military and interstate roads. I go back and forth on the Federal Reserve, kind of thinking we don't need that at all.
Where do you think most taxes go?
So, Social Security. That's a fact. I can bring it up if you want.
Sure. I think there's a good portion of people out there that when we talk about like where our taxes go, that think the taxes should come back to the people. So if they were spending more taxes on
Social Security is a very unique type of tax, though, because it's the one and only tax that is supposed to be specifically for the individual. So and it's based on how much you put in. All other taxes are not like that. Like, okay, if you pay a lot of federal income tax, you can drive on the interstates more. No, that doesn't even make sense. But Social Security is different. It's basically like a safety deposit box that the government holds for you. So if you screw up in life, at least you get something of your own money back plus interest. But Social Security is number one. Medicare, Medicaid type programs are number two. Defense is number three. Actually, the interest on our debt, it might be number three by now. And then defense is four. And all the other like type of welfare programs are on the bottom. Did you know that?
Vaguely, Doug. I mean, I couldn't list in what order they go to, but the simple point that's always bothered me is I don't think the taxes, when we talk about a tax system, most people, like my family, will bitch about maybe social programs that we have, but I don't think our taxes go to those social programs. I don't think that the majority of them don't, right? The majority of them, I don't think our taxes come back to us. It's just as simple as that. I don't think I don't agree with the government coddling anyone.
Well, you're factually incorrect. If you believe what I say when I say Social Security is the biggest line item on the budget sheet, then yeah, it does directly come back to us. Most of it.
Where does it go to the people that don't make it that long?
Goes to other people. You mean like if they die early?
No.
Yeah, that's their problem.
Hey,
if you die early, that's your problem, not mine. Actually, you know how much money we saved from COVID? You know, all those old people dying, they no longer collect Social Security. I mean, COVID was a great money-saving thing. Don't know what to say to that, right? Okay, I'll take you off then. How many old people died? It was like something, 70% of everybody who died from COVID, 75% were over 75, 65. Let's assume they were all collecting Social Security. So that's 700,000 roughly people times the average American, I think, brings in, let's say, round up to $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. COVID helped us save $16.8 billion a year. 3 cheers for COVID. But then we took all that money and more and then shut down the economy and gave people the jab. No, Whistler, there's no theist left. No, not one. No, not one. Doug wants grandma's dead confirmed. I actually think guys like Darkin there, he comes on purposely to sabotage and ruin my live streams with theists. Because he knows people don't like to talk about politics on Thursdays. Then the question is, why didn't I boot him sooner? Because, you know, I got a soft spot for Darkin, for Sean. I mean, and I'm just such a nice guy, it's hard for me to be so mean and rude. I tried posting the link a few places. Well, thanks for trying. I'll check Discord again. My dad was one of the rich ones COVID almost wiped out. What do you mean? What do you mean? That COVID almost killed your dad? Or, but what does that have to do with being rich? I'm back on the Christian chat. But I think maybe I have to be a Christian to be in the Christian chat. Let's get out of there. Let's go to Faith Talks.
Like, and he also claims now that he was released to say that he had, like, part of his job was to, like, track anomalous aerial phenomena using, like, various intelligence systems. And so he said that this caused him to, like, you know, question, what are these? Does the government know more than they're letting on? And he talked to a bunch.
Yeah. So many few people talk about Christianity or religion anymore.
It would also just be better if they, like, address, like, TOS shit, you know? It'd be great.
Nothing. They're all scared. Let's see if anybody's live right now. Yeah, I guess I could do that. Let's see here. Someone said I should just interrupt them and ask about Jesus. McClatchy is live right now with Dr. Brown. The Line of Fire. Line of Fire. Dr. Brown. Thanks, Travis.
Against his argument by showing that Israel cannot really be the servant spoken of in Isaiah 53.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is when you look, even the rabbinic commentators, and it's fascinating, people that don't know Jewish tradition, they'll believe this rabbi, but this rabbi often contradicts or ignores Jewish tradition, especially when it undermines his argument. So, for example, Radak, one of the so-called big three rabbinic commentators, he said,
Yeah, Dr. Brown is a weird guy to me. He's a bit of a charismatic, so no matter what argument he might make or you disagree with, it's always going to really boil down to this charismatic type experience. And what makes him a little different here is that he doesn't even hide that fact, and you're kind of like almost immediately at an impasse. He basically is like, I don't care if you don't believe me. I believe it, and nothing's going to change my mind. That's that. Next, like, I dislike universalists almost as much as pantheists. But anyhow, let's go back to
F the Pope all the time. That was like Europe's
Catholicism in
favorite
America is doing. I've heard, and I didn't know it was so bad in other countries. Apparently, in America, as far as traditionalism goes and stuff, Catholicism is doing very well compared to like a lot of other European nations.
Yeah, I think like this was funny to me to find out that like almost all the Latin masses in the world are in like France and America, and like other people don't really have them.
Yeah, in Croatia we have like 6 Latin masses.
Yeah, 6. We have like 6 within like 3 cities that I'm around in America.
Yeah.
Like they're very like the youth in America, the Catholic youth are very traditional. Iran's posture, you know, not Iran, sorry, but no Iran's posture. The priest faces away from the people.
The thing is, in Croatia we had kind of a situation even before Vatican II where the mass was being held in vernacular language.
I'm not against that though. I'm not against vernacular.
I wish
Yeah,
we would
but,
do the liturgy of Saint Gregory the Great in like the Western churches, where it's just an English Latin mass.
Yeah, well, that's how Novus Ordo. That's how the document pretty much directs it, but it was kind of implemented poorly in a lot of countries.
I mean, I've been to really good Novus Ordos, but when I say like a vernacular
trying to
Latin
figure out-
mass, I mean like ad orientem
getting
and
a feel for the room.
Which honestly, I have been to an ad orientem Novus Ordo too. But
We have an ad orientem Novus Ordo right, down the street from my college, and I love that place. Everybody veils. My girlfriend got a veil recently. All the young Catholic women veil, and most of them do in the area. And I don't live in a very Catholic area.
Novus Ordo in Latin.
What?
You can do the entirety of the Novus Ordo in Latin.
You can do it in any language.
Yeah, but no, but I mean it's written in Latin originally. You can even like the translation in English was so bad they had to change it in 2011, but it's never changed. The original Novus Ordo is in Latin.
I might skip
well,
it.
it's not the problem that they changed it. The problem is that people don't follow it. They just
people don't follow the
It
document.
was wrong. No, it was literally wrong. Like the American.
Yeah, no, they changed like some of the stuff, like "end with your spirit" and all that.
Not
But
just that. The consecration words they messed up. They said instead of saying pro multis, they said for all.
They're deep in
Instead
the
of
weeds
for the
here.
many, they said for all at the consecration for years.
I don't think that's that big of a deal. I mean,
I don't
like
think they're ready for a
sometimes
guy
you'll
like me
go to a
asking, "Why do you
Novus
believe in all
Ordo
this
and
is
it's
true?"
like, what is this? It's like this is Protestant.
Well, that's like the one nearest to my college. I hate going there. I'll go to the student mass because it's very reverent, but you go to the regular mass and it's full of boomers, and it's just garbage. They have guitars and it's trash.
Bro, our student mass is led by a Jesuit LGBT affirming monk or whatever.
No, our
I
student
don't
mass
know
is
what he
like
is.
based as fuck, dude. None of us we're all very reverent. We stay after mass and pray. We all take communion on the tongue.
Counterculture in the U.S. right now is traditional, quote unquote, or like old school. Like that's what the counterculture is. So the younger people are going to be doing things that seem like reverent. Yeah.
Can I ask a simple question on like what does going to mass actually give you or help you with?
Is this
Receiving the body of Christ?
Say that again.
Receiving the body of Christ.
And what does that do for you?
Helps me get to heaven. Helps me enter into communion with God.
Participate in God's nature.
What?
Participate in God's nature.
Participate in God's nature. Actually get in the presence of the Lord, like the physical presence of the Lord. That's important, I think.
It's like we are in Exodus, right? And Christ is the manna from heaven, right? So it sustains us.
Even like going to like adoration is like, yeah, I mean, you should be, I mean, it's good to be in the presence of your creator and communicate with him and to meditate and yeah.
Like, do people who go to mass, are all of them in the presence of the creator just by being there, or do you have to do something else?
Yeah. The physical presence. Yeah.
So even if a non-Catholic was there, they would still be in the presence?
Yeah.
They can't partake in the Eucharist, though.
They can't partake in the Eucharist, but they can like bask in its glory.
Yeah. Like just being around it, sort of thing.
And is
being
it
in the
just
same
like what
room.
actually causes the presence of God to be there? Like, it's not the building, right? It's
the consecration of the priest who transforms during communion, transforms the bread into the body and the blood typically into the wine into the blood.
But it doesn't actually become blood, though, right? Or
It
yeah,
does.
no, it does.
Yeah. Well, according to Roman Catholic tradition, it does.
But according to scientists, would it?
Well, the accidents change. The actual physical properties don't change, but in everything important, it changes.
The substance changes.
The substance changes. The accidents don't change. The substance changes. Sorry.
But how would you verify that? Like, let's say the priest was not a real priest, and
that's not how that works.
And says that he's transforming it, but it actually doesn't happen. How would you know one way or the other if you can't actually test it?
That's kind of a nonsense hypothetical.
So like this like evil priest, like evil fake priest sneaks into like my mass and he like pretends to consecrate the Eucharist.
Yeah.
I think
the
answer is that it's. I think we would know. I think we would know if he's an evil priest or not, an imposter priest, right?
And anyway, God gives His grace in spite of evil priests.
Well, and also I think the answer is that this is a faith-based dogmatic assertion. It's not a like, let me prove it so that I can be sure of it type of thing. This is not something subject to scientific verification.
Mormons love those faith-based.
Well, I mean,
dogmatic
look,
assertions.
I understand what you're saying, but I sort of, the miracle that's going on is that of course you can't empirically verify it, right? But that's not
the point.
That's not the point.
And there are like we believe in like Eucharistic miracles, like, or at least I do. I guess it's not dogma, but you know sometimes it will transform physically.
But like, let's say a billionaire.
Unless you want to say that everything that happens in nature or in reality has to be, you have to see it with your own eyes, right, in order to like believe in it, or in order to like for it to be real. But that's just not true. Like there's so many examples you could give, right, of things that you can't see with your own eyes, right? That just like, you know, just obvious.
But let's say a billionaire was to set up a really nice looking church and had mass. Maybe it's not even in this country, but I had all you guys get on this billionaire's private jet and you go on some type of vacation, and I say, hey, let's go to this mass. But this billionaire has set it up in such a way that it's all fake.
No,
and so you go in.
Yeah, but here's the
smoking up right now.
Here's the thing with that though is that
has your dragon smoking? Whenever
somebody
you talk,
mute
your dragon
Simba,
smokes
please?
off for some reason. So how does that happen?
Somebody could you mute Simba to help Mike? Thank you.
the only thing is with that though is that it has to go like in the Roman Catholic faith. Doesn't it have to go through the church? Like you can't just set up a church like a church. That's not how that works.
Right, but let's say you guys, let's yeah, I understand what you're saying, but let's say you guys thought all the right procedures went in place, and really they didn't, and I brought you
The
to
bishop would know. The bishop would stop it. The bishop would shut it down.
Okay, but let's say you didn't know, you are under the impression that the bishop is okay with this, even though it isn't. Like, it's in a country where you're free to put up false masses. And so you guys go in, you partake.
This is called Protestantism.
And you go in, you partake, and you actually think the bread has been transformed to the body, the wine has been transformed, but it's all fake. My question would be, is there any way for you guys to know that it's fake?
Because the bishop
you're asking, what you're basically asking is are fake consecrations possible, right? And the answer is just no.
Fake consecrations are not possible.
He's asking, how would you know if it wasn't real?
Because the
Well,
bishop
it doesn't matter because like the metaphysical principle precedes the epistemological principle, right? Like whether or not we know about it is irrelevant, right? At that point, because it's just impossible. It's like 2 + 2 = 5, right? It's just impossible.
Yeah, because this is a bit of an absurd argument, even from the question of like, do I actually experience this thing versus how do I verify it, which is what you're asking. I don't see how it's relevant to like the dogmatic assertion that Catholics make around the issue.
Like, it's very simple, right? It's very, yeah, exactly right, RC. Like you said, right? Like it's very simple. In order to prove that it can't happen, all you have to prove is the fundamentals, right? Is Jesus the Son of God? Yes or no? That's all you need to prove, and then everything that follows from that is airtight, right? So the question, really, like we only really need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
Well, I actually disagree with that. I think Jesus could be God, and still there'd be shysters out there and con artists who.
No, because if we are to believe the word of God, which is infallible and honest and forthcoming, then
pancakes. I like your profile.
Thanks, Glober. But anyways, yeah. So you have to, just take it as sort of from the principle, the axiomatic principle, right? That God cannot lie, and therefore, because it's literally impossible, and He's omnipotent, therefore He will never allow, in His providence and His grace, for such an occurrence to materialize, right? So,
Pancakes, hold up a second. Let's not overclaim with what it is. Like, plenty of people have like represented themselves as priests and have not been. God didn't strike them down immediately. Do Catholics believe that they're going to be punished for that? Absolutely. But like, I don't think you got to overclaim. Like, I think that Pine whatever guy is asking. I think it's an absurd question. Like, even by an atheist, I don't know if it's an atheist standard. So I don't think you have to like overclaim and say God will definitely stop them, because all he has to do is show like, there are shyster priests.
No, look, easy answer. I already said it. It destroys the entire argument. God's grace works in spite of evil priests. That's it. If a priest who is ordained, who was ordained. Wait, listen. Who was ordained under the common, conditions that are accepted for ordaining a priest. If he goes and he leaves the faith internally, but not externally, he tries to deceive people, he doesn't actually consecrate the Eucharist. God's grace of consecrating the Eucharist will happen in spite of the priest's evil actions, subverting actions. The believers will receive the body of Christ.
So look, I'm hearing a disagreement. Is efficacious, right? It depends on what you believe is efficacious. Is it the priest's intent that's efficacious, or is it just a formulaic pronouncement of the ritual that's efficacious, or is it the belief of the believer that's efficacious? And of course, like in any circumstance, it will depend. But what I didn't say that God would strike down a priest that's trying to deceive people, right? Because at that point, if like, okay, let's go with a hypothetical. Let's say that the believers really do believe it's a real priest, but but at that point you would be right? Because if he's giving the formulaic, the formulaic sort of ritual according to the Roman Catholic teaching, right? And he's giving the Eucharist, he's baptizing. Because, for example, for baptism, right, just to give you an example, you don't even need to believe in God, right, to give a proper baptism, right? It's like a baptism is just a formulaic ritual, right? And you baptize and they're Christian, right? They're saved. So it's
so are you saying that a con artist can just say the right words and it will still work?
Well,
It would be
absolutely,
shut
because
down.
in that case, it would be efficacious, right? Regardless of whether or not the con artist believes in it or not, or even worse, he's deceiving the other people. But think about the ridiculous nature of the hypothetical, right? You're having someone who doesn't even believe, like he's wasting his time doing baptisms or blessing the Eucharist or whatever, giving eternal salvation to people, right? He doesn't even believe in it. He's like, I'm still getting these Christians now, like I'm like, okay, bro, like thank you for eternal life, I guess, But in that case, it would be just like, why is this guy even doing? Why is the bigger question I guess I have is, why would a con artist, rather than trying to, I don't know, scam them out of their money, or why would he try to get them to have
Well, I
eternal life?
I can think of reasons. Let's say a con artist really hates Roman Catholicism, and
Yeah.
let's say was hurt by the church in some way. Let's say molested as a boy, I don't know what, and wants to get back at them. And he thinks that he can cause doubt in Roman Catholics by pretending to be a real bishop or whatever, and then at the end saying, surprise, I'm a con artist. Everything I said I don't believe. This is a fake church. It has not been ordained by the bishops. You guys got duped. Now
It's a prank. It's
and
basically a
yeah,
prank,
and
what
you
you're
guys
saying.
fell for it. You actually think you're in the communion of God, and you're not.
Well, not
Yeah,
being
right.
not being ordained by a bishop is a different scenario than what you were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about before. Because the whole point of the whole point of the fact that a priest could be a non-believer or a heretic, and if he is not deposed, then the grace still works through the sacrament,
Amen.
in spite of the belief.
Amen.
So hold, guys, relax. So the whole point of this priest not being deposed is the fact that he is ordained. So not being ordained, yeah, none of that works. They're all getting conned.
Yeah, but like, what would you say is efficacious tunnel course survivor? Is it the belief of the believers, the intent of the priest, or the formulaic pronouncement of the ritual? What would you say is efficacious?
Well, all of them, but in different scenarios. So if a priest is a heretic, if he is not deposed, then it's just in spite of him being jurisdictionally in power, because God promises a jurisdiction for believers. So if somebody falls out of the belief but is ordained under a jurisdiction, they hold jurisdictional power until they're deposed of their jurisdiction.
Until they're deposed, right?
Yeah,
But
and then on account of the
about
believers, it's a different situation. So yeah, like if, for example, this is what we say when we say that Eastern Orthodox have
supernatural.
a valid Eucharist. It's like, yeah, they have a valid Eucharist and they're all
There's
receiving
no way
grace,
to test
but
this.
they're taking it unto judgment because they're not Roman Catholic.
They just
so
blindly believe it.
It's different for the different
But
scenarios.
his specific example was that of a con artist, right? The con artist, for whatever reason, right, is deceiving people into making them think he's a real priest when in reality he's not even ordained, right? And the whole purpose of that is to like prank them and say at the end of the match, he's like, haha, you guys got pranked. I'm not actually a real priest, right? So in that case, what would be the
Yeah, you have to be ordained to consecrate the host.
Yeah, in that case,
Right,
nothing would
you have
happen.
to be ordained.
But the sacraments don't work in that case.
So the sacraments don't work if it's a con artist, right?
Yeah,
not even just I mean,
I thought,
con artist, a Baptist.
Okay, what about baptism, right? Well, like, because my
Hello?
impression is that baptism can work regardless of who it is, even if it's like
Okay.
Yeah. Have you been listening to me talking to these Catholics?
No, I kept my YouTube app closed. I was afraid you'd talk to me, had it open.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me. Fascinating, actually.
Yeah, I'm technically I'm Catholic, but I've been lapsed for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now.
That means you're not a Catholic anymore. You've been sinning for too long, Jimmy.
Nope, I'm going to hell. Well, maybe purgatory for a long time, actually. But
what do you want to talk about specifically today?
So I messaged you on in the chat about free will, and I thought I wanted to flush that out a little bit, maybe with you.
Okay. I'm not excited about it.
Well, you peeved me off because I had to wait in the Whereby lobby for so long. So that's what you get.
Okay. So go ahead. Go ahead and make your case. Hang on. You're back. I just had to do something here.
Okay. Well, what if I asked you a couple questions as somebody that believes in God to an atheist? Would that be better?
Sure. So you believe in God. I don't. You're going to ask me questions about free will. Go ahead.
Yes. Also about maybe atheism.
Okay.
Okay. Let me think about that. So if you are not the agent who makes the decisions, who is?
I know I'm still the agent who makes the decisions.
Okay. But then how do you not believe in free will then?
Because making decisions is different than the ability to have done otherwise.
I mean, yes, there are situations that you are in that you will have multiple decisions you can make, but you're still the agent that does that. And you're still the agent that sometimes
you are correct
and present yourself and work yourself to the point to where these are the choices that you wanted to choose from. Like
that's correct.
You still don't think that's a form of free will?
There's a difference. See, we've got to be very careful how you define free will. I'm defining it very specifically to mean to the ability to have done otherwise. Now, you can make choices, be the agent of those choices, and still not have the ability to have done otherwise.
Because I see you as a very successful YouTuber.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously you've done well. I see you as an agent who has free will, but you see that very differently.
Yeah, under my definition of free will, there are causes to effects. Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
And now my mind can be changed on this because I do think some things are completely random. So how much of this randomness affects our decisions, how much of the sufficient predeterminism has affected it, I don't know. But I do think that the idea of the ability to have done otherwise, that a completely free choice is almost like creating something from nothing. It's very akin to, and God said, let the universe exist, and then the universe poofed into existence out of nothing. If a free choice is like that, like, should I have steak or should I have lobster? Out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere, that decision came. That's the type of free will I'm thinking of when you say free will. And I don't think that exists. I think even Christians who believe in free will would agree with me here that there's at least 80% of influence, like in the spiritual world. The demons are influencing you, the angels are influencing you, God is influencing you, the devil's influences you, your hunger is influencing you, your tiredness is influencing you. There's all these pressures that are in, but there still has to be a small sliver of percentage points that is only you, like out of nothing, your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that small percentage could be zero. It's not, it's still, you're still the agent. You're still making the choices, but could you have done otherwise? Probably not.
Yeah, I agree with that. So your sense is you would want the...
But hang on, if you agree with that, then you don't believe in free will as I defined it. Like, do you believe that when you make a choice that you could have chosen otherwise?
Sometimes no.
But sometimes yes?
Sometimes you're just left with only bad choices.
Well, do you believe in free will?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's limited at times.
Okay.
It's not restricted like you're talking about. Like I just can't make things appear.
Right, but let's say on things that you have control over, like my favorite is, are you free to commit suicide tomorrow?
If I don't die today, yeah.
Okay. So assuming you're alive tomorrow morning, are you free to commit suicide tomorrow morning?
Yeah, if everything goes like I plan.
Now, if God knows you're going to die at the age of 100, are you still free to commit suicide tomorrow morning?
If God knows. Well, that's assuming if God's personal, like me. I don't know that.
Okay. Yeah. So do you believe in God?
Yeah, I don't know the nature of God.
Do you believe God knows the future?
Um,
The reason why I'm asking you these questions is because I'm trying to show that you can be a Christian and actually have the same views as me on free will.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can go down this rabbit hole. I mean, since I don't know if God's, I mean, I believe that I relate to God on a personal level because I'm a human being. I mean, like, is God a person like me? I don't know.
Okay, but even the person now, as long as you believe that God can see the future and is never wrong about what he foresees, then you can actually be a Christian and have the same views as me on this issue of free will. You can say you're still the agent, you still make the choices, but what's going to happen is going to happen because God has foreseen it. And God never foresees wrong. He's never wrong about what he foresees in the future. Now, God's outside of time, but when he foresees what's happening in our timeline, from that frame of reference, what God foresees in that frame of reference is going to happen. What he foreknows is going to happen. And therefore, you do not have the ability to have done otherwise. And therefore, you're not libertarianly free. Now, we don't have access to God's foreknowledge. So we live our lives like we're free, even if we may not be. Even if every single choice, no matter how big or how small we make, is predetermined, it doesn't really matter because we will still act and behave as if we could have done otherwise, even if we couldn't. Now, what I just said, you can be an atheist and a Christian, and it still works.
Yeah, if God is outside of time and he can see every choice I'm going to make, then yeah, technically that's not, yeah, I would agree with
So is there any problems left between us?
I mean, no, I mean, usually I agree with pretty much everything you say, even as somebody
Because
who
Julian's waiting to get in here,
believes in
so
power.
if we're done, then we'll shake hands and I'll talk.
Oh, wow. Shoot, I better never meet you in real life.
Why?
What would happen?
Why? What do you mean?
I mean, I'm a pretty attractive guy, Doug.
Oh, you are you?
We're getting along this well.
Well, I only like the babes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not a black guy.
What's that have to do with anything? I mean.
Oh, I mean, you like the chocolate. I know that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. I like my women like I like my coffee. Anyhow, nice talking to you, Jimmy. Julian. I remember you. We talked before, right? He's catching up.
Oh. Hello.
Hi there.
Hello. Sorry, I was a little behind on the stream.
Yeah, I understand. No problem.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Are you?
Yeah, I talked to you about a month ago.
I'm trying to remember. You're not atheist, right?
No.
No. Are you Catholic?
I used to be Catholic, actually. Funny enough.
Oh, but now you're.
I don't know. I just recently left Catholicism, so I'm kind of still exploring.
Oh yes, you're in that in between stage. So what can I do to get you into the atheist car today?
Well, last time we talked, you wanted to make me a stronger theist, so you did. So you gave yourself more work to do today now.
Oh, okay. So now that I made you a stronger theist, let's reverse it again.
No, I'm just messing around. I don't know. I think last time we talked, we got a little bit into consciousness. I kind of wanted to keep talking about that.
First free will, now consciousness. It's like, okay, All the big
is that a
ones.
topic that you don't like?
Consciousness is one of those very weird and crazy and strange things to talk about. It's really hard to define. I in terms of consciousness, I typically only make one big claim, and that is it is completely dependent on the brain.
Okay. So that kind of puts you into, I guess, materialism, or
Yeah.
maybe kind of a property dualism, but probably materialism. Okay. So do you think that, well, I guess here's kind of an argument for the irreducibility of consciousness. You can tell me what you think about it. So billions of years ago, before consciousness evolved, assuming there's no life on other planets, right, there was a time where, if physicalism is true, all that existed was matter, and it was completely mindless, right? So there's just these particles floating around in space, they're just mindless. There's no consciousness, there's no first-person perspective. But these particles start, combining together, and then it forms some kind of organism, and then somehow they arrange just right where there's poof, first-person perspective, consciousness, which seems like you're either going to have to say consciousness doesn't really exist, which is what a lot of materialists say, or you're going to have to say there's some sort of like strong emergence. It wasn't there before, consciousness wasn't there before, but it's here now, and we can't really reduce it. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I would probably use the word emergence.
Okay. I think that kind of puts you more into like a property dualist camp then.
How so?
Well, because usually, so someone like David Chalmers has a similar view, where he thinks that there was, matter, it was just matter, and then it combines in a certain way, and consciousness emerges from that, but we can't reduce it. It's kind of two different properties. There's matter and there's mind, but you can't reduce one or the other.
See, but I view consciousness the same way I view digestion.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. We're using emergence differently. So digestion, you can totally reduce that to just physical processes, right? So you would say the same thing about consciousness?
Yeah, and that's why I said that potentially you can, because of the claim I made that consciousness is completely dependent on the brain. If that's true, then this is also true.
Okay.
Because the brain potentially we can come to understand in the future completely.
Right. Well, I don't think you're ever going to be able to bridge that gap from mindless matter that's just third person objective. There's no first person perspective. I don't think that can just be some amount of complexity and then just poof, first person perspective. That feels like magic to me. That feels like an appeal to magic.
Yeah, well, it's also an appeal to magic that we exist at all, like that there's anything, right?
I don't think so, no.
Like, isn't it pretty amazing that electrons, neutrons, and protons exist and came together to form different atoms within different elements. Then those coalesce to form heavier elements, and they organize in certain ways to create rocks and then eventually life. Like, technically,
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
It is. It's amazing, but it's not. It's totally reducible back to, fundamental particles.
So, what would change your mind on the reducibility part? Like, what do you actually mean by reducible?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, if I talk about a chair and I say this chair exists, right? Right. If we ask, can we reduce the chair to matter? I think we can. We can say here it's an arrangement of, wood, and this wood is made of whatever molecules. It's arranged in this shape. We can describe the chair just like in terms of matter, certain arrangements of matter. So that's kind of what I mean by reducing.
Okay, and so you would say the brain is reducible.
Yes, the brain is reducible. I don't think that the mind. I think the brain is reducible to matter, but I don't think that the mind is.
Okay, so what would change my mind and to agree with you would be if we did studies of the brain where we can actually kill the brain and prove mathematically that the mind still exists using random number generators, then reboot the brain and bring it back to life to verify that the mind and the brain were are in sync. So in other words, you die, you kill someone for days and days and tell them on Monday we're going to have this number and Tuesday this number, and they could report back to you, yep, this is the numbers, and we can repeat that. Then we can say, then I'm in your camp. I'll say, yep, the mind is separate from the brain. It's not reducible.
So,
you like that test?
Sure. I think that would be good evidence of substance dualism. That we have an immaterial soul that is separate from the brain but somehow connected. I don't like that view. I think that view doesn't make sense.
But I think you have that view whether you like it or not. If you say that it's not reducible.
No, because
you might not call it the soul, but you're calling it something.
Well, I'm calling it the mind generally.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we have. I don't think there's this immaterial substance that I have and you have that is like a soul that is like distinct from each other. Because so the substance dualist says that there's the mind is matter, and the matter is.
I know I got to stop you here because I know you're deep into philosophy. Do you believe that there's anything immaterial that exists?
Yes.
Is the mind one of those things?
Yes.
Okay. So really, when I say soul, I mean that. I mean something that's not material. So you basically believe that I'm going to use the word soul, but it means this immaterial mind. So that's not reducible. So you believe in two things. You have a brain and a soul, and that they work together.
Right, but I think that matter, which would include the brain, is reducible to mind. So that's how I'm different than a dualist.
Say that again?
I think that matter is reducible to the mind.
Oh. You're like an idealist then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the Matrix guy. Basically.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're done then.
Really? That's it?
That's it.
What's wrong with idealism?
Nothing. But once you get to idealism and that everything is a projection of the mind, like matter is a projection of the mind, it's an unfalsifiable claim.
Well, so is physicalism.
Do you agree? Okay, you do not agree the physical exists then?
Well, I think it exists. I don't think it exists independent of mind.
Okay, yeah. So then under your criteria, that's not falsifiable either, because if there's no minds, there's no physical. So you're saying that if all intelligent life ceased to exist in our universe wouldn't exist.
No, because
well,
you said intelligent life, right?
Yeah.
So if all conscious life, okay. So there's two different kinds of idealism. So one would answer yes. If all conscious creatures cease to exist, then the universe would cease to exist. I don't think that. I think that there is a world out there independent of my mind, independent of your mind.
You just contradicted yourself.
No. It's independent of my mind and your mind, but it's not independent of mind, like in general, of consciousness.
Is it possible for mind not to exist and yet the material to exist?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So basically you're a Matrix guy that, yeah. And that, I don't think it's an interesting conversation, to be honest. Like why would anybody even desire to have your view? What does that help with anything?
Well, because you don't run into the hard problem of consciousness, which we just talked about.
Okay. So you have this view to solve that one specific problem.
No, I mean there's other problems too, because if you go to dualism, then you get the interaction problem of like dualism. It's really surprising that if you hit someone on the head, You know,
Because watch this, I can solve the problem even as a materialist of the hard problem of consciousness. I can solve that immediately. Can you guess what I'm going to say?
What is it?
Consciousness doesn't exist.
Oh, that's just completely self-defeating though. It like there's nothing you can be more certain of than consciousness exists.
No, I'm saying we're moist robots.
Well, okay, how do you know that the computer in front of you exists?
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, you experience it.
Yeah.
So it's mediated by your consciousness.
Yeah, but
you only know
radar
you only know
detectors
it exists because of
experience
your
speed.
consciousness. What?
Radar detectors experience speed.
No, they don't. They don't experience it.
No, I'm saying the same way radar experiences speed, that's how I experience this monitor.
No, the radar detector doesn't experience anything.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Prove it doesn't.
Well, okay, I don't know exactly how a radar detector works. We could go with something like.
Do you see what I'm doing, Julian? What I'm doing is I'm redefining experience to be completely machine-like.
Yeah, but then that's a meaningless definition.
Why?
Because that's not how people use the word experience at all.
Okay, but then I can say that your definition of experience is meaningless. Because you're saying the mind comes before, you're saying the experience is superseding to the brain, right?
All I mean by experience.
Most people don't talk that way. Most people are not idealists.
Well, all I mean by experience is that there's something it's like to be, if I have experience, then it's.
And we lost them. We lost you there for a second. Let's wrap this up because I still don't think it's very interesting.
Okay. All I mean by experience is that there's something it's like to be me. I think that's a pretty standard way of defining experience.
Okay.
And there's not something it's like to be a radar detector.
I still don't understand why people like you find this interesting. Sure, it might help you solve certain questions, but people can make up a whole bunch of explanations to solve interesting questions, like consciousness doesn't exist. That everything that's happening between you is like Frank Turk says, we're moist robots. There's consciousness is illusion. We are just chemicals in motion. Everything that has been said and will be said has been predetermined and cannot be otherwise. It is what it is. And that really life doesn't exist. We're basically like rocks talking. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, if materialism is true, then sure, but I don't know.
Okay, I'll let you go. Thanks for hopping on. David.
Hello.
Hi there, David.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, I have a problem. I've been a lifelong atheist, but recently I converted to Christianity.
Oh, good for you.
I want you to fix me.
Why do you need fixing? What's wrong?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't like it. I don't like being Christian. It puts all kind of...
Then why did you convert to it?
Because I believe in Jesus Christ now.
So you believe in Jesus Christ, but you don't like being a Christian?
Yeah, I don't.
Don't you love Jesus?
I do love Jesus in a kind of way. Yeah.
In a kind of way?
Yeah, there's
you
lot
don't.
of pressure.
You're not 100% loving Jesus and obeying His commands.
Not 100%, no.
Okay, well, I got news for you, David. I got great news for you. You're not a Christian.
Are you saying that all Christians do believe in and stick by the rules of Christianity 100%?
No, not just the rules, but they need to at least love Jesus.
Oh, no, I love Jesus 100%, yeah.
Well, then if you love Him, you obey His commands.
It's not that easy, is it?
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't work like that.
What commands are you breaking right now? Are you lusting in the flesh?
Sloth. There's one about being lazy, isn't there? There should not be a sloth.
You know, Jesus doesn't want you to be on welfare.
Oh, yeah, I'm breaking that one.
You're on welfare?
Yeah.
What country are you in?
The UK, England.
Well, at least you're taking their money and not mine. You know what you should do? You should get out your pen and paper and write a thank you note to the 1%, the richest English people, and say thank you for taking care of me, even though I'm a lazy bum.
Well, they can afford it. They can afford it, so it's okay to take their money.
Yeah, but you should, like, if I was to give you $100 right now, what would you say to me?
I'd give it you back and say, no, it's okay. I can look after myself.
Well, no, let's say you really needed it, or let's say I bought you dinner. What would you say if I bought you dinner?
I'd say thank you very much, PineCreek.
Yeah, you would say thank you very much, and all I'm asking you to do is write letters to the very wealthiest people, the capitalist people in the UK, and say thank you for paying for me.
I don't think they'd appreciate it though. I don't think they would appreciate my thank you.
It doesn't matter if they appreciate it or not. If you want to be a good, polite, civil guy, you should thank people when they give you stuff.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on.
You've actually made me want to do that now.
See ya. Swift F.
Yo, what's up, Doug?
My cholesterol.
Oh, awesome. That's outstanding. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I've got a teenage son, probably a couple years younger than your son. He goes to a Christian school.
Oh.
I am not. Probably similar story to you. So
Okay.
kind of balancing that out. But he came home from school the other day, and I walked in on his room, and I saw him watching some videos on his phone. It wasn't porn. It was worse.
It was Turek.
It was Cliff Knichel.
Connectly, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever his name is. Yeah. So, and I was like, oh, what you watching there? He's like, oh, this guy here. I was like, oh, Cliff, I know him. He's like, yeah, he's pretty good, huh, Dad? So that's the joke part of it. But the serious part is like, how do you,
how much have you and your son talked about religion before?
A fair amount, but I'm not trying to like convince him anything's not true. I'm more just encouraging him to ask questions, be skeptical, and I'm not going to force anything on him one way or the other, but obviously the school is going to do that to him.
Yeah. And you're asking me how to stop that?
What did you do? Because I know, both your kids are at least somewhere in the middle or at least skeptical, so.
Well, yeah. What did I do exactly? Number one, I consciously didn't do anything other than be available to answer all their questions. And my kids did ask a lot of questions. And then I asked them a lot of questions back. So what I would do if I was you with this Cliff guy is say, hey, give me some of the best arguments you've heard him make. I'd like to hear them. And then he'll give you them. And then you ask nice, interesting questions back. So for example, let's say Cliff has made the claim that the New Testament's reliable because of eyewitness accounts. You can ask, oh, well, who are these eyewitnesses? And what is an eyewitness account? I don't even know if Cliff goes into that level, but
yeah,
I think actually he does. But basically, you don't push back in terms of don't watch this. You just say no, watch more, and then make a list of the great things this guy says, because I want to know it too.
Right. Well, yeah, he was telling me something about he was learning about the Jesus sweat and blood story, and like instinctually I want to ask him like, oh, do you think that actually happened? But I don't know if that's the best way to approach that, like, because if I just ask that question, I think it would imply to him that I don't think it did happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or you could say, like, there's many routes to go down. If you go the SC route, you could ask, if it didn't happen, but this book says it did, what would explain that? What's an alternative explanation for that being recorded and it not happening? And then if you do want to do the non-SE route, it says, you could say something like, I heard someone say the other day that actually wasn't in the original or in the earliest manuscripts and that was added later. Is that true? It is true. So that whole story is in question.
Right. That one is?
Mm-hmm. Sweating the Blood is, yeah. That's a later edition.
I'll have to look that one up. I know the Cast the First Stone story was.
Yeah, Cast for Stone was Sweating Blood,
Any-
Tears of Blood, and The Long Ending of Mark. There's a bunch.
All right. Well, I'll keep trying to poke.
But here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Given our current climate in the United States, would you want your son to marry a nice Christian gal?
Ooh.
Or an atheist gal who's on the verge of becoming a boy?
If those were my only two options, oh shoot, I don't know. Depends on the girl's family, because I could put a lot of pressure on my son. I know plenty of Christian families that could make my son's life miserable.
What kind of Christian is your wife?
I'm divorced. She's not either. She's like a non-believer, but not like a hard atheist.
Oh, okay. So where's your son living? With you?
Both. He's about 50-50. So
How
mom's
did,
not.
how did he end up in a Christian school?
Because that's the closest private school to where I'm at. And I really like the school. I've got some friends that have kids that go there. It's a great school. It really is. It's a Christian school. And I did have a very open conversation with the leadership there before we put my kids in there.
Because this is going to infuriate a lot of atheists listening, but I can think a lot of worse things that could happen to your son than him becoming a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm not worried about it. I'm not like pushing hard to, force him not to be. I just want him to at least be open-minded, so that when he gets to his 18 to 22-year-old stage, that if he meets a pretty girl that goes to church, he won't be easily persuaded.
Yeah. One thing I've always taught my kids is to constantly think, stop and think and be smart, whether they're out with their friends or at school. And I think that helps, that constant reminder to not let emotions rule them.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm trying my best, but I just don't want to be overburdensome on him or do the opposite of what, my parents did, force me to believe in Christianity. I don't want to force him to, be an atheist or something, because all it takes is one convincing argument and you'll flop to the other side or think your dad's a nutcase or something. So
Yeah, you probably walked out of your son's room and said, why couldn't he be watching porn instead?
I was like, that would have been way easier to talk about. Yeah, I know. And Cliff of all people, at least it could have been like William Lane Craig or, Cameron Bertuzzi or something.
I actually, did I talk to Cliff? No, I talked to his son once. What's his name? Patrick? Stewart. Yeah, Stewart. And I know both of them, what really causes them to doubt Christianity is the personal relationship aspect. Because they're smart guys and they realize that not only can they not demonstrate or prove to other people that this inner testimony of the Holy Spirit is real, they can't even demonstrate it to themselves. Like, they understand that people can dupe themselves and deceive themselves into believing something that's not true. And so all these personal religious experiences, and I appreciate them about this, they kind of almost poo-poo it as far as an apologetic. And so they will talk about the reliability of the New Testament and the big picture things, like what I was just talking about with the previous callers, consciousness and why anything exists at all, maybe morality. They'll go to the big picture type stuff.
Okay.
But,
cool. Well, I got to go actually run to my son's wrestling match here in a minute, but I just thought I'd share that and get your opinion on it.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Cool. See you, Doug.
See ya. Someone mentioned that there's a guy taking calls, but he looks like, whoa.
Anyway.
Oh, he's done. I used to have glasses just like that back in the 80s. Okay, the room's open if there's any callers left. Patrick Stewart. Yeah, that's why I said Patrick. But his name's Stuart Connectly. And I think that's how you say their last name. But yeah, I remember having a great conversation with him. Was it like 2 years ago? 3 years ago? In theory, that's what he's saying. And
You think that's what he meant?
Well, I know, to me, I think it's all rubbish, but I think that if you're going to say that the doors to hell are locked from the inside, that implies that you can unlock them from the inside. Does it not?
Yeah, when he said that, I thought he was talking more about suffering. I thought he said that, but again, I think if you continue.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched this one, it's a good watch. It says it's called "Give Me an Answer." With Stuart, it's spelled S-T-U, Stuart Connectly. Okay. Pablo was here and gone. I should probably try to talk to him again. We talked for 2 hours. Like when people say that I don't have genuine, sincere conversations with theists, I think of this one and I point people to watch this one, even though it's older. Yeah, and here I even ask him a trap question. Let's see. I'll play the trap question later, I guess, once Pablo's in here. Pablo.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. PineCreek.
Good day.
Did I have a choice to make this call to you today? Or was it already determined? It was already in the cards for me?
No, you had the choice. I'm really glad you made that choice because the world is going to be better because of it. Thank you so much.
Is the world supposed to be getting better for a reason?
No.
For an ideal reason?
No. Not really.
So it just is. No, right? It just is. There's nothing better or worse about it. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, right?
Although it does seem like it is getting better.
Have you read the news lately? We're going to go to war with China and Russia. I'm going to get drafted.
Are you an American?
Yeah. God bless America.
You're going to get drafted. I'll bet you money on that. You want to make a bet?
That I will get drafted?
Well, you think you will. I think you won't.
Okay. Well, that's what they've been telling me since high school when Bush invaded Iraq.
So would you like to bet me that you will not be drafted? $1,000 public bet right now.
How long do we have for this bet to go on?
Well, draft usually. How old are you?
Yeah, right. I won't be drafted. I've already passed the age of.
Okay, so you came on one of the first things you said, "I will be drafted," and then within 2 minutes you said, "No, I won't."
I know. It's a joke. I'm being
facetious.
There you go.
Why can't you be serious like me? Why do all these theists have to joke around?
I am serious. I'm serious as cancer.
Okay. What did you really want to talk about?
You asked me last time when I was on here, why in the world in 2023 would a guy like you ever believe in such nonsense like Christianity and the Bible? Mm-hmm. Well, you've already answered that to your audience. I was predetermined by my environment to choose this. The way my brain fizzed is through Christianity.
Okay,
so I have no choice.
But you don't see the future, right?
I do not see the future.
So
no.
what if it's predetermined that you start out as a Christian and end up as an atheist?
Then that's also predetermined, right?
Yeah. But what if that's...
So it was predetermined for me to be initially a Christian, then switch to atheist. That was all determined as well.
Right. So I'm basically giving the same answer as the Calvinists.
And Calvinists are wrong. Just like you.
Okay.
Catholics are wrong. They're calling their priests.
And what I'm wrong about exactly is on determinism. That's your main point.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say you have DVR and you want to catch your football game, your sporting event, but you're at work, so you have it recorded.
Mm-hmm.
they played already, and then somebody tells you, what the score was.
When was it recorded?
During the day while you're at work.
Right. So you're saying it's already happened, right?
So if it's already happened, and then I know the final score at the end of it already happened, just by me knowing the score of the game, does that affect any changes of the game?
No.
No. Okay, then. So same with God. Just because he knows the
Wait a
end
minute.
from the beginning does.
I know you've been fed these lines by guys like Turek.
Turek, right? Which
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Turek says the same thing, but
I know.
So the analogy is that the game's already happened and been recorded.
Yeah.
Right. Has all your choices already been made?
No.
So there's no record of it yet.
Right, but yeah, okay.
So you want to call Frank for help?
Okay, so up to the point,
Frank Turek,
now, how much
Pablo needs you.
Okay, but up to this point now, where I'm at now, and all those choices that were made before, that we know of,
Same
that
thing
are in the past.
Same thing applies. Like if we go back a week, I would still ask you the same question: are your future choices, have they already happened? Do they already exist? Does the choice you're going to make tomorrow already exist? Now, a Calvinist would say yes, but I'm asking you.
So here's the fine line. We are restricted within a boundary of our lives. Like I didn't choose to come out as a male. I didn't choose to come out as a South American.
You were assigned male, Pablo.
Correct. I was assigned by my biology.
So this is called
by nature.
Yeah, I'm resonating with you.
So I would agree that there's some things that are out of your control. Yes. I think it's in the movie Forrest Gump, is it destiny? Is it fate? It's a little bit of both. You're being pushed around, but at the same time you have some free will within there. There is some free will, but I would say not completely. I think the major things are left up to us, like whether we want to get married or not, whether we want to live or
choose to follow Christ. That's a big one.
So that one is, again, I think he gives that as your agent, as free will. Other things are not.
Can we talk about that?
Okay.
Because that's in the same topic as free will, and that's a major choice that you made and I didn't.
Right.
To
so
accept
by you making this choice not to accept Christ, were you aware of that? Were you predetermined by nature and your environment and your social norms?
We've already talked about this. I would say yes.
So then
I was predetermined. Yeah.
So I had a conversation with an atheist in the comments, and then what's the point? Who cares if that's all predetermined? Then what's the point of us 196 people watching the show? It doesn't matter.
Because we don't know the future. That's why.
Okay, so let's say
we don't know what's predetermined or what's not.
You get some converts out of your show to go away from Christianity and to accept atheism. That was predetermined by the show that he was influenced by, right?
Right, but again, do you not see what I'm saying?
No, can you go?
What I'm saying is that just like God can see the future, and predetermine it, because God never knows wrong. Okay. You as a Christian still live your life like you could have done otherwise, and you got these libertarian free choices. In the same way, a determinist like myself says the same thing. We don't know the effect to every cause.
Right. Okay.
Like you've heard Christians say this, like, well, Doug, you're probably not going to become a Christian, but God might use me in the things I say. I don't know if it's going to be useful, but God can use all things for good. Like that type of rhetoric, that type of language. I can do the same thing. I can say, Pablo, you're probably never going to become an atheist, but maybe I'll say something that will resonate with you and cause you to doubt something in the scriptures or whatever. And then someday you'll become even in both cases, all that can be predetermined, no ability to do otherwise. But still, when we live our real lives, this is what happens. People make choices.
Okay.
So, but I want to get back to the free will part and ask you if one of the biggest decisions you freely make is to serve and worship Christ, follow Christ,
Mm-hmm.
that's something you did, right?
Something that I
That's a choice you
yes,
made.
that I stumbled upon. I didn't do anything about it. I discovered that there is a free gift given out to the whole world
That
and all I have
you
to do,
chose to accept.
that I chose to accept. Correct. So this is what you don't understand. In the Islamic culture, in the Islamic religion, we had God has no partners. God is all omnipotent, and
Why
he does
were we
whatever
talking
he
about
wills.
Islam?
Because you're going into that realm. You're going into that theology by
No,
saying
not. The
that
Trinity
Christians.
theology?
No. Are you saying that Christians affected God's choice for him to save us? Right? And that's true. We made the choice for him then to accept him. So it's not completely his will, it's not completely our will, it's both of ours together in partnership. Correct?
Okay. Yeah, you're saying there's a symbiosis between you and God.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
It's not like in Islam where God leads astray who he wants to lead astray and saves
Would you
who
say
he
it's
wants to save.
50-50?
I don't know if it's 50-50. I can't put a number to it. It doesn't matter what number it is. I just know that I will, because I choose this, I then get to be in a position as a son who then inherits his authority. So
Okay.
I have authority just like he does.
So God wanted to save you, but he couldn't
Yes.
save you unless you accepted the gift.
He wants
you
the
s-
whole world to be saved.
Would you
but he
say
doesn't
God
get
wants
what
to
he
save
wants.
me?
Yes, he wants
Okay.
to save.
So the only difference between our eternal destinies is us, not him.
Okay.
You
What's
see
wrong
a
with that?
you don't see a problem with that?
No.
So there's a little.
Because again, I'm not a Calvinist.
I know. Even if you're not a Calvinist, there's a problem for you because there's this little word called grace.
Okay.
If you agree with what I just said, that
Yeah.
God wants both of us to be saved, and the only difference between us is our choices that we freely
Yeah.
make, then the reason why you're going to heaven is because of the choice you made, and the reason why I'm going to hell is because of the choice I made. So our eternal
Correct.
destinies is not based on God, it's based on us. And that
Yes.
puts heavy tension on this word called grace, because
No, you don't understand what
God
grace is.
says that it is not up to what we choose, it's up to what he chooses.
I think you're misinformed. I think you have the wrong definition of grace.
I think you're misinformed.
Grace.
That made me laugh for some reason.
So listen, grace. Let's talk about it as a parent to child. A child doesn't know any better, right? And yet the child still kicks and screams and makes a fuss and makes a mess, right? I, as a parent, could disciplining the child to correct the behavior. Now, at one point, there's, I'm up to the limit where I'm saying, I can't do anything about this child. So what you need to do is, instead of just trying to deal with it and say, okay, I'm going to keep disciplining you for the rest of your life, you can kick them out, right? I've heard parents say that they kick their child out of the house for doing X and Y. Kicking out of the house is a form of grace. I leave you onto your own, do what you will, do what you want. You're not going to be under my rules anymore. That is grace. That is, me beating the child into submission is not grace. So by giving them the choice to freely deny the parent, deny his role as a child in my house, then I'm graciously given that opportunity for him to leave.
John 15:16 says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you, that you should
Right.
go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide. So whatever you ask in my Father's name, he may give it to you." There's one verse that basically says that the reason why you're a follower of Christ is not because of what you chose, it's because of what God chose.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about Christ unless he actually came down and chose to become the Christ-like figure down here. Unless he decided to reveal himself. Again, could have just, like the Islamic God, could have
But
just
why
let
did
it
you
go and just hide
But
himself.
you
and-
didn't choose God, God chose you.
Yeah, he chose me, and then now I have to make an effort to choose him. He initially chooses me first. He everyone to be created. And now he wants to see, will you then come back to me, will choose me? It's like a significant other, a loved one.
You're
I
the
make the effort. I
chosen
choose
race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, for people of his own possession, that you may proclaim. Did the Jews choose God, or did God choose the Jews?
No, because he did. God chose the Jews. He first took them out of Egypt, saved them from slavery, and after they're saved in the desert is when God comes down and says, "Hey, I have a contract to make with you. Would you like to accept? Yes or no?" Then the Jews chose yes. But after God had already initially taken them out of Egypt, so it's not like, "Hey, choose me, come to God first, and then I'll save you." No, he saves you first. He dies on the cross first. He kills the tyrannical Pharaoh's army first, and then he tasks you to choose. So he does this for you first, and then you have to do
There's
it for
many
him.
examples in history where God chooses, and basically the humans have no free will. The Jews had no free will. They tried to reject Yahweh, but then Yahweh would punish them until they were down on their knees and asked for forgiveness, and then the cycle repeated.
After they agreed to the contract, to the covenant at Mount Sinai. Then he says, if you do not follow my commandments, then yes, I will punish you. I will kick you off the land. I will
But they're still
vomit you out of the
chosen.
land.
Even after he punishes them or during the punishment, they're still chosen. God chose Jacob and not Esau before they were even born.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many are called, few are chosen. You're not free, Pablo. If you're a true Christian, you're a Christian. That's that.
Right. I mean, we're all either I'm a bondage slave to nihilism, to oblivion.
You could pretend you had some free will into this just to make yourself feel good, that it was partially you just to make you feel good. But no, it was zero you. It was all God. Why don't you give credit to God for all of it instead of just some of it?
Yeah, I don't see that. I think you're trying.
You don't want to give 100% credit to God?
Yeah, 100% credit for everything that exists. If it wasn't for him,
no. With your choice of salvation, are you willing right now today to give God 100% credit for your salvation?
Yes, 100%. Because
then don't give me this "I accepted" business. Then it's all him and zero you.
So I didn't make a choice. So you know, I did not make a choice. You know for sure. You are absolutely certain that I had no choice in accepting Christ.
If Christianity is true, that choice was an illusion. God made you choose.
Okay.
Because He regenerated your spirit.
Let's suspend my theological beliefs. Let's go dive into yours. Did I choose as a Christian to accept Jesus?
Only because God.
No.
What? You did, didn't you?
No, according to your atheistic worldview, I did not choose to believe in Jesus.
You still chose, but the reason why you chose, it wasn't a free choice. It was once God chose you. Once God chose you, the choice you made had to have happened. You had no choice not to. You had no choice to reject it.
I had no choice to reject it. I don't know. I mean, there's some people that will call themselves and they say they choose to be Christians. They say that, and then God will say, "No, I never knew you. Depart from me."
Like if God wants me to become a Christian, do you believe God wants me to become a Christian?
Yes, He wants you to be saved. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Now, becoming a Christian you don't have to be a Christian for the whole of your life. You can confess on your deathbed that maybe I was wrong and God will save me. That alone.
Short answers are always the best. So if I say, "Does God want me to become a Christian?" all you have to say is yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, yes, and then just leave it there.
Yeah. Okay, so we all have the choice to become a Christian, not just you.
Okay, so if God desires me to become a Christian, why am I not a Christian?
Because you don't want it. You don't want to be.
So I'm more powerful than God?
Yeah.
Yes?
He gives you that power. That's the thing. You are made in the image of God. God is powerful.
So
yes,
I can thwart God's desires.
No. Yeah, he's not getting everything he wants.
You notice you said no and then you said yeah.
He's not getting.
This is why people are Calvinists because of these questions.
Yeah, no, it's I get it why they would be Calvinists, but they're not reading the whole story. You're just again following the small context, the small definition of these words in these passages. You're not looking at the bigger overall picture.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
There was one other thing I forgot. So yeah, so my brain fizz just came out this way. Nature just decided that was going to happen.
This is the same topic. You got a new one?
Right. I'm just saying. Okay.
You like Frank Turek, right? Let me ask you, since you're struggling.
I mean, he's all right. He's good.
Did you know that we're friends, right? Did you know that we're friends, me and Frank?
I saw the picture. I also listened
You saw
to
the
John
video.
Lennox. The picture.
Oh, I got a video. You should watch the video.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I know just like him. Have you heard of Hugh Ross, the PhD astrophysicist
Oh, yeah,
from Caltech University?
Yeah, I've never met him, but I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay. Reasons to believe. There's another one that influenced me against my own will.
I'll tell you a secret about Hugh Ross. He thinks that the color blue is from demons.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, I got a video on it. He says if you go into a haunted house, I think it's blue. There's a certain shade of blue that represents that aliens or demons were there.
Well, there's a whole conspiracy. Oh, that's what I want to ask you about. You said that Christianity is a Jewish conspiracy. So you're a conspiracy theorist, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Me too. Do you believe that the 9/11 Twin Towers attack was an inside job for the U.S. government, the Pentagon, and the Israeli Mossad and all those people?
If you're asking me, do I think the U.S. government brought down the Twin Towers? No.
Yes. No. So it was Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And their password just happened to fall down on the ground zero.
Whose password?
The passport that they found of one of the hijackers, the Saudi nationals.
Yeah. What about it?
It was found at ground zero after the towers fell. They found his passport.
Okay. And what does that show?
It's improbable. Highly unlikely that a piece of paper, this passport, was not going to get burned up in the towers. So are you? So you're not. What kind of conspiracy theories are you? I mean, that's like the most obvious false flag in all the history of the world. How do you not see that?
Well, I think the more obvious one is that the Earth is flat.
Okay. So this is what I'm trying to get at. You're a conspiracy theorist who believes that the Jews invented Christ figure Messiah as a false deity, as false.
Let me give you some credit. Let me give you some credit, okay? I'm very rarely surprised at things, especially the older I get. And
okay.
I do not believe the U.S. government brought the Twin Towers down. Like, actually, did they do things that caused it to come about eventually? Maybe. But that they directly did it, no. But it is not a very fantastical claim to me. In other words, it would not surprise me if you're right.
Okay.
They gave
right.
Same thing with a lot of things. Like the election was stolen, for example, in the United States. So many people say, well, there's. It's very hard to prove something like that, to overturn an election. But if we could prove it and then or disprove it, it would not surprise me. It's not a fantastical claim that elections are rigged or stolen. So I would not go, oh, I can't believe it. No, these things happen. These things happen.
Okay.
But anyhow, Pablo, I'll let you go because your baby needs you.
Yeah.
I gotta let Doug in. It's the Doug to Doug show. And I'll mute you until you get caught up. Yes.
So I'm a Christian. I started liking you when you started picking on precepts.
Okay.
Because I cannot stand them.
Okay.
However, I listened to an interview you had with, where I guess you had some talk with Greg Koukl, and I kind of felt like you might be I hear an echo. Is that something I'm doing?
Yeah, turn me down a bit. A lot. Or put on headphones. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, because I think the echo went away. But and also make sure that the YouTube tab is closed, and you just have this whereby tab.
That's what it is. How about now?
There, is that better?
That's better. Yeah, the YouTube did it.
Okay. So you like me for bashing precepts. You don't like me for bashing Greg Koukl.
Well, I don't know where you're coming from with Greg Koukl. With the precepts, I don't think they're honest. And what I don't understand is what you have an angle that let's explain to me. What is your angle with Greg Koukl?
Well, I think I talked to him, was it twice, 3 times? The first time, and maybe even the second time, I asked him the poof or drown question. So my angle there was to try to get his moral intuitions to be in opposition or clash with his gods, your gods too. So for example, on everyday life, you would say drowning babies is not a good thing to do, but when God does it, then it is okay.
And I remember thinking when I heard that in the eternity of time, whatever pain that we're suffering is inconsequential. In other words, yeah, I understand from a human perspective, but if you're looking at eternity.
Yeah, but the problem is, and this is, a big difference between Christians and naturalists like myself is your morality is oftentimes divorced from huge pain and suffering. So if God wanted to accomplish his justice on a certain nation of people, that's fine. I have no dispute with that. What I dispute is, if you want to do it, why not just poof the babies out of existence instead of drown them, or the toddlers?
So then I'm So you coming back to the fact that, are you trying to say that the Christians are indifferent to pain then because of your naturalistic perspective that a Christian can't?
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying the Christians are actually just like me, and questions like this makes them feel uncomfortable, which in fact Greg Koukl admitted. The second time I called him, I think he said, you know what? I don't understand why God does a lot of things he does. He just came out and said that. And I think you would say something similar. You would just chalk it up to mystery. I don't know. If it were me, yeah, I would have poofed them out of existence. Like, I can't imagine a 3-year-old, 4-year-old child treading water for 30, 60 seconds, coughing up water. And then if you believe there was children existing and the global flood happened, this is a problem for you.
How about the idea that the awfulness of sin, I mean, you could say that God allows everything, so therefore God is responsible. And I guess there's always going to be a tension between God's will and, free choice. And it's a conundrum that I don't know anyone who has a solution to. But I have, unless you want to respond to this, but I have a challenge for you as to an evidence of God, and here it is. It seems to me that anti-Semitism is all out of proportion to what it should be by any natural explanation. That the tiny country of Israel, the number of Jews are so hated
that proves God
in proportion to their actual number, and there must be a supernatural explanation as to the hatred.
You know what? I don't hate this argument because I love the Jews, and I do think they're probably the most fascinating group of people in human history in terms of the amount of persecution they've gone through, and they've always been able to keep their heritage. And and culture, but they're not the only group that's been able to do that. I think there's a lot of Hindu tribes, whatever, Asian tribes who've been able to do the same, but I do give them credit. Now, let's say that I have an explanation for it, but I want you to try to guess what my explanation is first. Let's say no God exists. I know it's hard for you to imagine, but let's just imagine it. There's no God. Okay. Or maybe there is a God, but it's not Yahweh. What would explain this anti-Semitism to the Jews?
If there was no God, hypothetically, from my perspective, there was no God.
Yeah.
Well, there are a number of explanations that people come up with that.
Name one.
The Jews are successful.
Yeah, but why? Why are they successful?
Well, they value education. They have a sense of identity.
Yes. You nailed it right there. So that's my explanation. So one explanation is the reason why there's so much anti-Semitism against the Jews is because, and they still exist, is because of God. That's explanation one. Explanation two is for 3,000, 4,000 years, the Jews have been...
we're frozen.
The Jews, can you still hear me? I think we lost them. Try refreshing if you can hear me. Don't lose your place, Doug. There it comes. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? There he is. He's back. Okay. So for 4,000 years, the Jews have been told through their culture that they're the chosen ones. If that doesn't give you a sense of great identity, I don't know what does. So it gives you this self-confidence that, hey, even if I screw up, I still know I'm one of the chosen ones. Now, I think this explains why their culture has been very resilient over 2,000-3,000 years, is because of this type of high identity. And it looks like his thing is not good enough. Yeah, if this doesn't work, then we'll try one more time. But if this doesn't work, then I'll take another caller. But I think you heard what I said, right, about having such a high sense of identity. This leads to their success, and that success leads to the anti-Semitism.
I mean, that's one explanation. I guess the difference is that I don't see why, Israel's the whole focus. And surprisingly, you find, I had a buddy of mine who...
Hang on, Doug, before you move on from that, my explanation. Imagine we're talking about a certain tribe in India who worships a certain god, and I asked you, the reason why this tribe in India has had such racism against them, bigotry against them, is because, and they still exist, is because Vishnu is real. And you say, no, Vishnu's not real. It's the reason why they're still successful is because of their culture, and they've managed to be successful. And you say, Doug, isn't that more reasonable? And in that case, you would for sure agree with me, wouldn't you? You would say, yeah, I mean, Vishnu's not real. It's more likely that the reason why they still exist, given this 1,000 years of persecution, is because of their strong, resilient culture. Now, if you're so quick to agree with me there, and do you? Do you agree with me there?
Well, I can agree with you on a hypothetical, but I don't agree with you in terms of the proportionality.
This is not a hypothetical. There are groups of people on this planet whose cultures have existed for 3,000 years plus, who have been persecuted over the years, and yet their culture's still there. I think there's even cultures that have the same language that they've had 3,000 years ago, and cultures in Africa. I did an interview with a Israeli Defense Force officer in Phoenix back in December, and he kept making these comments, and I just stayed quiet. But there are definitely cultures like the Jews that have existed for thousands of years, and kept their culture, even in the face of persecution. And if I was to ask you about any culture other than Judaism and if they attribute it to their God, you'd say, no, of course not. It's just because they have a resilient culture. But you're unwilling to admit that as a good explanation for the Jews.
Well, my issue is that the hatred is out of proportion to any group. I mean, I acknowledge other groups are hated because of whatever identity. My argument is it's disproportionate. And let me give you an example. When I started talking about the lawyer friend of mine who found a study, and this may be interesting, that the Christian judges held were admitted anti-Semitism and bias against Jewish attorneys. In fact, there's a case where.
But Doug, I'm not interested in the specifics because I don't disagree with you that the Jews have gotten the rotten end of the stick in many, many cases. But that doesn't change my mind. It doesn't change my opinion that therefore Yahweh's real. No, I could just say they're even more resilient than other cultures. This is why oppressed people in the United States, oppressed in quotes, minorities, a lot of African Americans in the United States hate Jews, is because they're an oppressed minority who have been successful, and it makes African Americans look bad, right?
So the difference between the two of us is that you're saying it's all explainable through natural causes, and when I say, hey, it's out of proportion, that's not really registering to you.
No, I understand you 100%. I know exactly what you're saying, and I disagree with you.
Okay. You want to ask me a couple questions to pick?
Sure. Why are you a Christian?
I'm a Christian because I think it's the best explanation for the world existing. And this is a glitch, and if you need to get rid of me.
You know what? We'll try one more time, but turn off your camera. We'll try with just audio. Yeah, turn off your camera. There you go.
I'm a Christian because I think it's the best explanation. I actually became a Christian when I had visited a Messianic Jewish congregation, and I saw people who actually struggled with whether Jesus was the Messiah, and I believe the resurrection. I believe that there's.
Okay, but why did you believe the resurrection?
Because I believe the accounts in the gospel, despite the fact that people are going to say there's discrepancies.
Why do you believe the accounts in the gospels?
I have not, I've not heard an explanation. It's the best explanation that I've heard. I believe it talks about 500 witnesses. I believe, okay, so when there's an account of the disciples who ran away, Peter denied Christ, and so there's a change.
Yeah, before we get too deep in it, and I appreciate your answering some specifics, but before we go into the specifics, do you think that everything that's reported in the Bible as true is in fact true? Like, in other words, do you think that some things in the Bible that's reported as true could actually be false?
I believe that the reporting is generally generally accurate. So
generally or completely?
Well, people are always going to, over the years, people have always come up with details that, I don't have an explanation for. So, unless we're talking about specifics, people might be able to convince me that this isn't as clear as it could be.
But something can be clear and still wrong, right? So let me try this with you. Like if you and I went to the forest for a walk because it's a beautiful day, and you trip, the two Dougs, Doug and Doug, go for a walk. We trip on something on the ground and we start digging, and it's a big fat book, and we open it up to a page, and it says that a man flew across the Grand Canyon unaided, just flew. Years and years and years ago, centuries ago, maybe even thousands of years ago. In this book, it says that. Would you believe it? Would you believe a man in the past actually? No.
Without anything else, I'd be really skeptical. I'd say, no, I don't believe this. That'd be my...
Okay, so very quickly, what we're going to do is this fun game where you and I, the two Dougs, are going to see where we diverge. I agree with you. I wouldn't believe it either. We flip the page. You mentioned 500 people with Jesus. We flip the page, and it says a guy writes that 500 people saw this guy fly unaided. Do you believe it now? Is your belief switch now turned on? You say, yeah, I actively believe, I really do believe this man just flew by himself across the Grand Canyon.
Let me give you a paradigm.
No. Do you believe it?
Well, I'm anticipating where this is going. So when people have beliefs, a belief is almost like a web. So
right, we're going through. I'm adding on strings to the web.
Right, and so when you ask questions, it's kind of you're almost like a Jenga. You're pulling out pieces, or maybe you're adding a piece.
I'm adding them back in. I'm starting with no pieces and I'm adding them in. Now,
so what I'm saying is, I will in order to have the conversation move along, I'm going to answer the question, but because it's a web and not a Jenga game, I might realize after an answer is that, well, maybe you don't believe that in the exact same way now that you give me a new fact. So go ahead, answer your question again. I will, and I'll try and.
We flip the page. It says 500 people saw the man fly unaided. Do you believe it now?
I would say who are those 500 people?
All you know is a man says 500 people. The man flew in front of 500 people. That's all you know. Do you believe it now?
No, with that, no.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't either. Now, where can you think of where you would start believing it? Now, we keep everything. A man flew unaided. He flew unaided in front of 500, in front of 12 of his friends, in front of the author of the first epistle. He has 4 diaries, or in this book is 4 diaries, where starts out with one diary that's very short and concise, and then a longer one, and then one where it says that a very orderly account of the things that happened with the flying man, and then the last one is a diary about the flying man flew for your sins and salvation, and he was actually God incarnate, and that's why he could fly. Like, can you imagine where your switch of belief would turn on? Like, how much of that stuff do you need?
So I might look at, like, was there? I might look at like, was there a real location? In other words, if I'm able to match something in the book to something that I know exists.
Yeah, it happened at the Grand Canyon. That's a real location, right? In northern Arizona. Real people, real places. It even mentions Kingman. They toured through Kingman, and they even went up to Flagstaff. They even mentioned the real governor of Phoenix at the time. Not the governor, the mayor. I mean, real people, real places.
I think what you're pointing out is that when asked for something specific, people aren't able to have like a total recall. And it's a totality of their experience. But I'm not denying that this exercise is very valuable. When accepting new beliefs, let's say something like a belief in a Bigfoot, my response is like, well, maybe, I don't know. I'm interested in people talking about it if they came out with new evidence, and I don't know what the comparison is between.
Okay, what evidence would it take you? Like, I don't believe Bigfoot exists. Do you? Like right now, if you were to bet money on it.
I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to it as well. But do you currently believe Bigfoot exists as like its own species other than a ape or gorilla, like it's its own thing? I don't.
Right now, no.
No, I don't.
And here's something else that might be, important for any type of belief is that I think it'd be kind of cool if Bigfoot existed.
Me too.
And there may be something to the idea that people want Christianity to be true, and so therefore they're more willing to accept.
Is that the case for you? Do you want Christianity to be true?
I want it to be true, but at the same time, I'm more interested in that it actually is
very good.
True.
Yeah, it's more important that it is actually true, right?
There's a verse, I'm sure you're familiar with it. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, easy beliefism. I don't think it's a value.
You don't think you don't think what's a value?
Easy beliefism.
Oh yeah.
So
you think it should be hard to believe in Christianity?
No, I wouldn't say it should be hard to believe in Christianity, but I think if you want to be solid in your faith, in other words, if you have a let's say you're arrested for being a Christian. People who have a very shallow belief are going to quickly re-examine their belief when the rubber, hits the road, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So there are lots of people that can go to church, because maybe they like the music program, they like socializing.
Yeah, I understand you. But Doug, let's cut to the chase here, because we don't have unlimited time. What would change your mind for you to leave Christianity? And then I'll tell you what would change my mind to accept Christianity. But you can go first if you want, or I can go first.
If the resurrection was categorically proven not to be true.
Categorically proven?
And I don't know what that looks like, but that would be.
No, yeah. How would you categorically prove that Jesus did not rise? Any ideas?
Let's say the Shroud of Turin somehow was authenticated.
But even then, the best you get is that a guy bled on a piece of cloth in the 1st century. That doesn't mean it's Jesus. Doesn't mean that Jesus is God. Doesn't.
Well,
mean...
let's say it ended up being a 3D movie. It wouldn't, I don't know what an absolute proof is, but let's say that it ended up being, because it's a pretty amazing. You're familiar with it, right?
Yeah.
The Shroud of Turin, and it's a negative image.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say they found more information that was coded in there.
Remember, we're trying to prove that Jesus did not rise from the dead. That was what would change your mind. So you're saying if the shroud was proven to be a fake, you would leave Christianity?
No, I'm saying I'm making up facts here. In other words, I'm trying to say not just a photograph, but it would be like a 3D movie where people were able to believe that it was Jesus, and that Jesus said, I am not the Christ, I am not the one.
So if we had a video footage that back in time Jesus admitted he wasn't the Savior, then you would leave Christianity.
That would, I think that would impact me. Yeah, I don't know what it would actually take, but I'm saying if something like that happened,
that's pretty amazing evidence, though. Like, you got to admit it that they didn't have video cameras back then. But okay, I'll give it to you. I would agree. Like, if you might question if it's really Jesus, though, right? Maybe this is just a fake Jesus saying these things.
That's true.
Yeah. How do you know it's really Jesus?
I'm trying to, would I change my mind if I thought about it some more? This is what I came up with, trying to give you an honest answer about what would change. What
if there was a clear contradiction in the Bible that you yourself would admit? Oh, here's a contradiction. Would you leave Christianity?
No, because if you look at any court case, you have witnesses. The stories never add up.
I'm not just talking about adding up or differences. I'm talking clear contradiction. In fact, let's say it's in red letters in the book of John and red letters in the book of Matthew. Jesus says X in Matthew and Jesus says not X, where X are the exact same thing in the book of John. So Jesus clearly contradicting himself. I'm not saying this exists. I'm saying if it did, would you leave Christianity?
No, but it would impact perhaps, my belief in the inerrancy of Scripture.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the case for most Christians would answer that way. What if the only texts you had were Paul's letters? No, let's say we had everything in the New Testament, but the book of John was shown to be a complete forgery. The Gospel of John was demonstrated by all experts on both sides, secular and even Christians, said, no, this is forgery. It's as forged as the Gospel of Peter. Would you still be a Christian?
We go back to the web of beliefs. How much.
All you have to do is say yes or no. Lean yes, lean no. So in other words, I'm saying pluck the Gospel of John out of the Bible. Would you still be a Christian?
I'd still be a Christian if we didn't have John as the.
What if I pluck the Gospel of Luke and Acts out of the New Testament? Would you still be a Christian? And John. So you're left with Paul and Mark and Matthew. So you don't have the orderly account narrative in Luke chapter 1. You don't have all the stories of the early church you have in Acts. But you do have Mark and Matthew, the first two Gospels, and you have all of Paul's letters. Would you think you'd still be a Christian?
I would still be a Christian, but I also don't know what that. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I know, I can imagine a Bible with 60 less pages or so in it.
I'm getting to the root. Like, if you believe because of the Bible and the reliable record, if that's part of your beliefs, at some point you have to tell me no, and I haven't found it yet. Would you be a believer? Would you be a Christian if all you had was Paul's letters and Matthew and Mark?
I would. I don't know where that line is.
So it's getting close for you, right? Like, it was. You could answer when I said just John, but now it's getting to the point where you're not so sure. So let's say you're close to being agnostic about it. Let me see if we can clearly cross the line. What if I told you none of the Gospels existed and all you had was Paul's letters? Would you be a Christian? So you have no
That would be-
resurrection.
that would be challenging. And so the response would be there would be a lot more scrutiny on Paul's letters.
Right. But I'm hearing you wouldn't believe anymore. You would not be a Christian if all you had was Paul's letters. Am I right?
I don't know how.
Maybe you don't believe because of the texts. Because I'm not hearing a clear no or yes from you. It's like you're struggling.
Well, I am struggling because I don't know what a Christianity. I mean, I understand the facts that you're presenting to me, and that may be sufficient.
Like if I said if I told you, imagine the New Testament never existed, would you be a Christian today?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would.
So at some point you have to add in the New Testament in order for you to be a Christian.
Yes.
If you just had Paul's letters, would you be a Christian?
I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
Okay.
And the reason I would say this because obviously there's a point before, immediately after.
I don't think you would. I don't think you'd be a Christian if all you had was Paul's letters, based on our conversation. I think.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right.
Yeah. Now the problem, and then I'll tell you what would convert me to Christianity. But the problem I see here, though, is if I'm right that you would not be a Christian if you only had Paul's letters, the problem now arises that Paul's the first. He is the only guy who says, "I, Paul, servant of the King of Christ, Jesus appeared to me." He's the only true eyewitness account. And then the Gospels and Acts are written decades later after Paul that are not specifically eyewitness accounts, that do have some differences that can be harmonized, sure, but there's some tensions there, like the birth of Jesus, when was he born, and so where was he born, that you can get around, but still you got to admit there's some tension there. I'm saying that all the evidence beyond Paul is worse than Paul. And so if you don't believe based on Paul, you wouldn't believe even if you add the Gospels on.
Well, then we probably we don't have time for this, but it's a whole discussion of I'm familiar with none of the authors in names appear in the Gospels.
Yeah, I think you believe for other reasons that don't even have anything to do with the New Testament. That's my theory. I think you went through a struggle at the same time you became a Christian, and you found hope, meaning, and purpose from that struggle and for your future through a community of believers. And that's why you're a Christian. Am I wrong?
No, you're wrong. Because it's always, and so I guess I've gone through a cycle of who's the guy recently? Tovia Singer.
Yeah.
Like he's a good guy because he's clearly an opponent. So I listen to him and like, well, what is he misrepresenting? And so usually there's something that it's good for going.
Why are we talking about Tovia now? We're talking about why, like you said, I was wrong in my guess of why you're really a Christian. Like it sounds to me you became a Christian late in life. How old were you when you became a Christian?
18, 20-ish.
Okay. Not you weren't older. Okay. And at that time, what was your life like? Did you have needs? My guess is all kids at 18 years old struggle with sexual lust. They struggle with sleep deprivation. They struggle with hormones. They struggle who they're going to be in life, what kind of man or woman they're going to be. They struggle with the career, what job, when they're going to leave home. I mean, it's a really tough time to be 18 years old. And this is the exact same time a lot of people either enter a religion or exit a religion. It's no coincidence.
Well, I was kind of an unusual child that I had always been interested in philosophy.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you were depressed.
Yeah, I used to go around trying to talk to everybody about Mortimer Adler and his theories with Bill Moyers, and like no one would talk to me. And so for like years, even after I became a Christian, I pointed out that Mortimer Adler was a Christian, and I just had these questions that
Existential angst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So I think that the
my dog has to go outside to go to the bathroom soon, so we're gonna have to cut this short.
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's been an enjoyable conversation.
But let me tell you what would change my mind before you go.
Okay.
If I see an amazing miracle like we see in 1 Kings 18 of water-soaked wood being lit in fire in the name of Yahweh or in the name of Jesus, if I see someone who I know personally who's been dead for years and we walk into their cemetery and you pray in the name of Jesus and they come bubbling through the soil alive, I will leave my naturalistic worldview and I will become some type of Christian. I don't know what type of Christian, but if it doesn't work with the name of Vishnu or the name of Allah, but it does work with the name of Jesus, I would say there's something to this Christianity thing, and I would become a believer if I saw the things that the Book of Acts claims the early believers did. Do you think that's a good marker?
I mean, it's not the only marker. What about hypothetically the end times? Let's say if you see all the things that are happening in the end times about the Antichrist coming.
Not good enough.
The one world government, that wouldn't move you?
No, not good enough. You know why? It's because there's always going to be wars and rumors of wars. There's always going to be famines. There's always going to be floods. There's always going to be people saying that they're the Antichrist or being a really bad guy. Like probably Hitler was viewed as the Antichrist, and probably a lot of Christians during World War II thought the end of the world was going to happen. They wouldn't even conceive that the year 2024 would come to fruition. I mean, all throughout history, World War I, the Civil War, it's like people would think, no, this has to be the end times. And it never, ever happens. No, this world's going to go until our sun burns out for another few 100 billion years, and that'll be that. Our species might go extinct when a big rock hits our planet or when Yellowstone National Park blows up. But I don't think, the Book of Revelation has zero impact for a guy like me.
So if you saw someone who was a world leader, had miraculous healing, was killed, and then came back to life.
No, that would do it for me.
Okay.
So you got to show me a miraculous leader who is verified to be dead, and dead for not just hours, but days/weeks. And we can verify that they came back to life in the name of Jesus. That would impact me. I would drop my naturalistic worldview immediately. I'm not lying to you. I would say, nope, that's enough. Now, could I be wrong still? Yes. Am I 100% certain? No. But that would be enough for me to turn that belief switch on. And I think most atheists would agree with me in practicality. They might not admit it verbally like I do, but I think that's all you need to do is actually do a real miracle that's verified, and do it ahead of time too. Like if you were to tell me, Doug, that next week at this time, come to where I live, we're going to go into a cemetery and we're going to pray in the name of Jesus and someone's going to rise from the dead. I'm a prophet of God. God told me this. And you actually do it. And I bring other people and cameras and medical records to prove that they were dead and now they're alive. I mean, now you have something powerful. Until that day, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Paul's letters is nothing compared to that.
What about a miracle that's attributed to the devil?
Okay, if that's where you're going to go, then I would still drop my naturalistic worldview because I don't believe in the devil either. So either way, you get me to some form of theism. Believing and worshiping the devil is a type of theism. But now you're just saying it's the wrong theism. But you know what? If this is... As a Christian, this is going to be very offensive to you, but I'm asking you nicely not to be offended. But if the devil can actually raise the dead and Jesus can't, then are you really why are you worshiping Jesus and not the devil? I mean, the devil seems like he can get things done. So maybe you're worshiping the wrong God. Like if you got stage 4 cancer tomorrow and the devil has a record of healing people, would you pray to the devil or pray to Jesus? I'd pray to the devil. Like what has the devil really done that's that bad in history? Even in the holy text, what has he done that's that bad?
Well, if you go back to the Garden of Eden, he, set man on a course of sin.
He told him the truth in the Garden of Eden. You shall not surely die, and he was right. He told Adam and Eve the truth.
They didn't die instantaneously,
right?
Which is
that's what he meant.
I have to go. You have a dog that needs to be let out.
Yeah, my son just got home, so he let the dog out. So, but anyhow, yeah, I think my marker of what would change my mind is better than yours because it is very specific, something that other people can witness and verify. I think it's amazing, and not only that, I'm not setting a new precedent here. Everything that I would say that would change my mind has already been recorded in your holy books, which I could say should be expected under your God. If your God and these holy books are true, he has a history of doing the things I'm asking for.
I have to go. It's been enjoyable talking to you.
Okay.
And so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Okay.
Do I take another call? Okay, this is the last one. Danielle. Oh, you.
Hi, Doug. Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, it was great to hear the Flying Man again. Hadn't heard that in a while.
Yeah, still as effective as ever, right?
Yeah, I mean that was interesting because kind of like wiggled his way out of it, and then you're just like, okay, well, let's just kind of move on. But it got me thinking. So I've been running into a lot of astrology lately, and I was like, is there a good analog for the Flying Man, but for astrology that you can think of? And I was trying to think people I know who do astrology. Yeah. There's a lot of books on it. The Flying Man is really we stumbled across this book.
Great question. The first thing that pops into my mind of an analogy for astrology. Now, the key to the Flying Man is that it's absurd, right? A man flying unaided across the Grand Canyon. People think Grand Canyon and a guy just flying no, this doesn't happen. So
it's absurd, okay.
Yeah, so with astrology, you have to find something equally as absurd, but kind of does the same thing as astrology. So what you do is that you can, I would say, based on the number of stool samples you produce in each day, or the number of times you go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So the number of times you either shit or pee in the bathroom, you record that number. You can tell your personality types and what's going to happen, what type of person you'll be. Oh, this is great. So in other words, you would need 12 categories, just like with astrology, when you were born, what months or periods. Is there 12 symbols?
Well, I think that's a good example too, because before I called, I was trying to think. The astrology, one of the big things is it has these different cycles. So that's pretty good too, because you could be like, well, I had this cycle where I was tallying these tallies, and then, but last year this time I only pooped this many times.
Yeah, and you could also go into whether your poop floats or sinks. Whether it's runny or solid, that will mean different things with how your day is going to go and your personality type. Like a real wet shitter is going to be the type of personality type who will just fly by the seat of his pants.
Well, no, it's good too, because you could even do things like, because astrology has some stuff where like goes back to when you were born. So you could be like, do you know what your stool situation was?
Oh, the date
when you were born.
Yeah, no, the date of your first successful potty training
has something to do with it. Okay,
yeah. So if it was before first years of, based on the month of you having your first poop on a toilet versus in a diaper, says a lot about you as a person.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, you could write a book about this.
Well, that's the thing, is like, if I brought this up, and that is pretty absurd, and then because someone might say, "Oh no, that's crazy," and I'd say, "Well, what if I told you there's some books about it? That there's some thick books about this. Like, there's not just one, because that's astrology has a ton of literature,
and you could hire someone." I'm imagining a woman dressed up in all the fancy bling, and someone calls in and, "Can you read my pooposcope today?"
Yeah, well, that's another thing, is there's a lot of I guess fortune teller types of people in that too. Read your charts, and then they can tell you if you're gonna have good luck or fortune.
At what age? And then this woman wearing a whole bunch of bling would say, "Well, what age were you when you were potty trained? What was your how many poops do you have per day? Is your poop soft or hard? Does it float or sink?" And then based on those answers, they just make up, well, this is what your personality type is, and what your day is going to look like and week is going to look like this upcoming week.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I wish there was something less possibly kind of gross to do with this, but it has a lot of things that could work. So yeah, that's helpful.
But you know what? You don't even have to flesh it out exactly. They will get very quickly, just like this previous caller. He knew where I was going with the flying man, right? We didn't have to go very far. He knew what I was getting at, and he got it. And he didn't want to go forwards because he knew that at some point there was going to be a consistency imbalance. And same with the poopology, whatever you want to call it. They're going to get it, and they're going to say, okay, so you view astrology as just as absurd as this. And then you can ask questions like, well, okay, well, how would we test this? Ask them for a clear marker of, let's assume astrology is 100% bunk. How would you test for that? And get them to come up with a solution. And they're going to go, I haven't even thought about how I would test if this is false or not.
Yeah, well, I had this friend that invited me to this like astrology like group chat thing at this coffee shop, and I went, and what was really interesting was how many people, there was a big personal experience part to it. How many people said basically they're like kind of lost, so to speak, in life, some motivational issue or whatever, and they're like, this made everything click for me. The astrology changed my life in so many positive ways. That's what a lot of people said. And that is a different reason to believe it. I mean, I guess, yeah, if you talk to somebody and it made everything make sense, is kind of what they would say.
Then it gets to the question of why are we trying to take away people's pleasure? Like, if it generally does make them feel better, and it doesn't cause them to do harm, at least not significant harm, and they can afford it if it costs a few bucks to go to these conferences, why exactly are we trying to create doubt in them so that it can be more consistent in other things in life? But we know people compartmentalize everything. I mean, it's a question I struggle with.
Well, astrology specifically, I think, causes people to judge people. That's like, so maybe it's not harming them personally, but I think what I see is it causes people to judge people. Oh, what's your sign? And then they make all these assumptions.
Yeah, but that's a very human trait. Like, we judge people, and maybe we use astrology as an excuse for judging them, but we judge them all the time, like based on how good looking you are, what you wear. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, those are okay things to judge people on.
Okay.
It's not okay to judge him
Like
on the sign. Anyways.
I've seen YouTube videos of, like, I'm against chiropractic care, most of it, not all of it, but I've seen videos where a chiropractor type guru won't even touch the person. They're just either standing or lying down, and their hands are just either hovering above. They're actually doing zero physical effect, except for maybe static electricity in their hands or whatever. But I have to ask myself the honest question: what harm are they really doing? Even if they believe it's like a placebo.
It's a placebo on the patient.
Yeah. Like a placebo's bad. I guess they are if it prevents you from taking real medicine, right?
Yeah, that could be. I thought that was Reiki, where they just put their hands over somebody.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Because I just saw my chiropractor today, so maybe we could ask Z on that. Because I'll tell you what, I think it really helps me. But
hey, don't get me wrong. I crack my own back often. And I crack my knuckles, and it gives you a sense of euphoria or some good feeling. I would never, ever let a chiropractor adjust my neck. No way.
You don't think so? No.
No.
Yeah.
You know, people get strokes the day after something like that. Like, it does happen. Like, when you have your carotid veins here, and if you tear them, now, it's very, very rare, but still, that little benefit of feeling better, like, oftentimes you can crack your own, you hear your own bones crack just by turning in bed or whatever.
Well, and to me, it's not about the cracking. I mean, I had like 12 years of pretty bad posture at a desk job, and so I am trying to. This guy's really good in the sense that he's like, well, I want you to do these other stretches. I want you to get this type of pillow. Like, we're trying to, it's like, what do they call it? Orthodontia. He's like, well, your bones, like, we're trying to undo bad posture over time.
Yeah, and you can buy braces. Like, you can buy back braces now that.
Oh, yeah.
What my main fear, and I don't think it's an irrational fear, but my main fear with chiropractors is that sudden jerking. It's like. Yeah, and there's ones where they put things around your neck and then just pull. I mean, and so it goes, your whole spine just goes, and I can imagine that it can relieve tension, but I mean, I would never risk something like that.
Okay, well, hey, you're a financial guy, so that's why you're probably pretty risk averse.
Yeah,
low risk.
Although, no, with my body definitely, but my money. I'm older now, but when I was younger, I would take huge risks with my money.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. Hey, thanks for the idea. I've been wondering about this, so okay, that's pretty good. Appreciate it.
Okay, see ya. Okay, let's start the music. I'm hot, I'm thirsty, and I need a pee. This live stream started really slow, and then all of a sudden I got a bunch of callers. I wish there was a way where I could start a live stream and then not just show up for the first hour or two and then show up when people do. Thanks, Jamie. But I must admit, I love watching chiropractors. Not when they do the dangerous stuff, but it's a type of ASMR for me. What is my star sign? I'm a Capricorn. I need an opening act. I think you're onto something, Sneed McFeed. I need a low-level guy who's not as good as me, but still entertaining to warm the crowd up. Digital Gnosis, do you want to be on my opening act? Warm up the crowd. More SEO words in description. Yeah, Travis. Hashtag this, hashtag that. I suck at marketing. You knew I was a Capricorn. Capricorns are so strong-willed and dogmatic and narcissistic. Poof. If you've hung out here for 3 hours and 26 minutes, congratulations, you watched the whole live stream. But I gotta question your life choices.